Hey everyone, this is Matt with Surf City TCG. If you're new to my channel, I specialize in EDH/Commander content for bracket 3, top of the line, optimized Commander decks, typically with no infinite combos. I'm back today with one of my complete coaching session videos. Today though, we'll actually be working on a bracket 4 deck, a pretty top of the line bracket 4 deck as a matter of fact, featuring Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, partnered with Sam, Loyal Attendant. So here it is for you in its entirety. If this is something that you would be interested in, you can contact me directly on Discord. My handle there is SurfCityTCG, or the link to my Discord is in the video description and comments below. Alternatively, check out my Patreon for more info on how to book one of these sessions. So without further ado, here it is. Enjoy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, going well. How are you?
Doing well. Excited.
Awesome. Why don't we start off by just give me a quick introduction, tell me what you're looking for out of this deck, and I know you already told me, but for the benefit of the viewers, like what were your goals with regard to this Frodo and Sam deck, how long you've been playing Magic, and a couple, whatever else you want to
So how honest do you want me to be? Do you want me to just be as honest
add.
as we were talking about, or just
Yeah,
or
no,
tone
totally.
down?
I think direct and candid is the way to go.
Yeah. So my name is Julio. I've been playing Magic for I think 2 to 3 months, realistically. I got into it just from watching some cool YouTubers. I've always been into card games like Yu-Gi-Oh and Hearthstone, but kind of got over Yu-Gi-Oh. It's always just pick up the newest deck and just move on. So there really isn't going back, and the staples aren't that fun. So that's what drew me into Magic. I'm not into the big One Piece game and stuff like that. So this was the next thing in line. I did like, so I just tried it out. I got a couple of precons that I had fun with, and then I settled into this Sam and Frodo deck. Why Sam and Frodo? I started watching Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, got really into it, and then just picked up the deck and just liked how it started. Like I saw the engine pieces, I saw the beginning of it. Just it's not the best thing.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And thank you for that background. I think it was pretty clear. And, what you've presented to me as the starting point was a solid bracket 2 deck. It looked pretty good. Let me flip over to that. So this was your original list. I don't want to spend a ton of time going over it because I did make quite a lot of changes, but it looked like a bracket 3 deck to me. You had 2 game changers. So I checked in with you and said, like, do you want to keep it bracket 3 or what are your goals? And just to paraphrase, what I heard from you was, I want it to be bracket 4, pretty top of the line, pretty no holds barred, and let's go look for blood and like fuck some people up. So that's
You
the
got a
message I
100%.
received. Is that pretty accurate to what you're
You got it
expecting here?
a
All
hundred
right,
hundred
beautiful.
percent. No budget, just full out.
Yeah, and I love it because like I don't do a lot of that. I have the cards for it, and when I started playing command, I've been playing Magic for 30 years, but I only started playing Commander probably 3 years ago. And when I started, especially coming from 1v1 Magic, I was like, yeah, like we got to make the deck as good as possible and just like crush some noobs. And I did that, and it was very effective. And eventually I decided like that's not really what I want to be doing, but I definitely understand the allure of it. And I definitely miss building decks in that way. So this was fun for me. Just saying like, how can we make this as devastating as possible while not quite being a CEDH deck? Because and
Absolutely.
I get a lot of questions in the Discord and just from people on videos like, hey, what's the difference between bracket 3, bracket 4? What's the difference between bracket 4 and 5? Because what they lay out in the descriptions doesn't make that super clear. And to me, I think the difference between bracket 4 and 5 is what matters in terms of this discussion. And I don't consider myself an expert on this, but I would say like, and what I've heard is that bracket 4 decks are almost like off meta CEDH decks. So they're decks that could perform in CEDH environments, but maybe aren't having quite the top combos. Like you're not going Lion's Eye Diamond, Underworld Breach, or like Thassa's
You're
Oracle, Demonic Consultation, but you're still
yeah.
like having a lot of options and potentially winning with infinites and that kind of thing. So that's the basis off which I'm going. And it sounds like you sort of agree with that. I know you're fairly new. So if you, by the way, I want to say at the beginning, I talk a lot and you might feel like you have a hard time getting a word in edgewise, just interrupt me because like it's not gonna work otherwise. So just feel free to cut me off and jump in with
No,
questions, or
but
if I glaze over something and you're not sure what I mean, like please stop me and make sure you understand.
no, but I think you did nail the nail on the head. I think a lot of CDH, the way I've seen gameplay, it's always the same loop where it's just underworld breach
Yep,
into maybe that blue oracle card, and you're just looking for it. It's just the same cycle, and
yep,
then your commander really is just as a tool to facilitate that. It's not really the centerpiece of the deck, and it has no. It's not like a lot of interaction, but just to do that one combo that you're looking for.
sure. And this is definitely not quite like that. There are going to be some go-to combos, I think, that you're looking for, but there are many combos, especially in this color combination. So we're going to spend as you can see, the majority of the time going over some of that stuff. So this is the agenda for today, 90 minutes. We're doing the intro now. We're just about done with it. We're going to quickly, I guess we're kind of doing the first two sections together right now. And then I'm going to compare your original deck to my new deck, both in terms of a big picture analysis, which I've got on the second tab here, and also then a card by card analysis. But that one is probably not going to be that beneficial because you're going to see it's quite a lot different from your original build. So just looking at every single card that's different isn't going to be necessarily that useful because almost every card's going to be different. Not every card. We'll see actually which
Yeah,
cards are the same and which changed. And then I want to spend the bulk of the time doing mulligan practice so you actually feel like you can play this deck. And this is definitely a deck that you're going to need to practice in advance before you actually bring it to a table, because otherwise you're going to be sitting there with a handful of tutors and you're going to be like, I
exactly.
don't know what to do. So I want to
100%.
make sure you come away from this, if not totally prepared to play the deck, at least knowing what drills kind of that you need to do, and yeah, like how to get ready for your first game. I don't know if you'll be immediately ready for your first game after this, but I think you'll know what you need to do to get there. And just running through iterations of it it's gonna make you feel comfortable, and that's what I want out of this. So does that all sound good to you? Anything you
Excellent.
want to emphasize or de-emphasize based on what I've said, or
No,
you ready
I
to go?
think you got it all. I'm ready to go.
Beautiful. Cool. Let's do it. So let's jump into the deck comparison. So here's the new list, and I sent you links to all of this. It's also in this resources and links tab. And if
Hmm.
I mention anything and it's not included here, just remind me and I'll drop it in for you. So here's the big picture comparison before we actually get into the individual lists. So this is your original build, and the deck links are here too, by the way, in these headers.
Awesome.
So your original build, like I said, was bracket 3. We went to 4, so the difference is in column E here. We went from 2 game changers to 11, so pretty nice increase there, plus 9.
Hmm.
Creatures actually remain the same, which I thought was funny. It was not intentional, it just happened that way. And yeah, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter that much. This one is important. Average mana value, as you get more and more powerful, you see a lower and lower average mana value. That's just pretty normal. So the new list has an average mana value of just over 2, which tells you like how fast we're
Yeah.
looking to go here. Whoops. Okay. So board wipes went down a little. Board wipes not nearly as important at bracket 4. Still important, like occasionally, but we have how many tutors? 10
And
tutors.
yep.
So, I think just having access to one is fine because you can grab it if you need it. But I think most of the time you're going to want to be trying to win instead of controlling the board. This is not a control deck. This is definitely going to feel like a combo deck where you're setting up some pieces, setting up maybe a draw engine, maybe some mana sources, and really just like going for some sort of combo, whichever one is appropriate for that game. But this deck can't win in a non-combo fashion. Now, if that's something that you want to incorporate, like a way to win via combat or something, we can adjust it. But from what I heard from you, that's not as important. You just want to win. And I think
Hmm.
going for a combat win is not the way to go when you achieve this power level because it's just too easy to stop, and 40 life's a lot to get through. But
Yep.
if you feel like this is too much, which is very possible, you might get to a point, especially like after you play this a few times where you're like, okay, like this is really good, but it starts to feel a little bit solitaire.
Hmm.
Let me know, and we could always make some revisions, because that's the same progression I went through. Or you might go the opposite way and say, I want to make this even more powerful, which I don't know if it really can be, but we could try.
For
So,
sure.
a lot of this stuff didn't change that much. The So I just want to go over some of the big changes, like the food synergy. A lot of the food synergy in the new list is more incidental than intentional. As with the old list, I think there were a lot of cards that like either make food or benefit from food. And we've got some of those, but if we do, they're usually part of some sort of combo versus being here as like a thematic element. Um, Life gain. So same sort of story with the life gain. Like a lot of the life gain is related to the food synergies, not here because it actually helps. Like in bracket 3, for example, incidental life gain is actually really useful because a lot of those games come down to attrition. And it's just if you can be the last one standing because you've gained a few life here and there, it makes sense. But again, a lot of the life gain in this deck is more incidental or combo related. I did increase the mana sources pretty substantially, +4 here, +1 on treasures, because we just want to go fast and like come out blazing. And if people have a chance to set up or develop like either defense or a lot of control, like counter spells, it can be harder to win with this deck. But we are going to talk about how to get through situations like that when necessary,
Hmm.
because it's going to come up all the time.
Hmm.
Reanimation, you didn't have any. And I think in these colors, like white, black, and green, reanimation is a big strength that even though we're not playing a control slash attrition game, being able to reanimate a key piece can be like an inexpensive and um, it can be a useful thing when your combo is interrupted or someone like hits you with some discard spells and you like lose a piece. Having a reanimation spell can help you get there, and it can also steal some other people's win cons. So the fun thing about Commander and Magic is that you get to be flexible, and like it's like a giant puzzle, right? You're trying to figure out, what do I do in any given situation based on what has happened, and where do I find my opening. And reanimation, I think, really gives you a lot of options with regard to that.
Hmm.
Removal is pretty much the same. None of this matters. Stacks, tax, silence. So as you get into higher power, stacks pieces become a lot more important. Do you know what I mean when I say stacks?
I do not.
Okay. So the word stacks refers to a card called Smokestack. Let me just pull it up for you. It's not really that important
Like
what it does.
like like ghostly prison type.
Sort of. So stacks, uh, that's more of like a prison card, right? Or tax. Stacks refers to things that prevent people from doing things rather than like removing things. It's more of like restrictions and things that gum up the board or make it so certain things don't trigger. This is the original card where that name is derived. Um, Decks, and this card is still played in the oldest format in the game, which is called Vintage, where they just rush out a smokestack. And the cool thing about this card is that you can stack it in such a way that it benefits you the most. Like this thing has two triggers at the beginning of your upkeep, right? The first
Hmm.
paragraph and the second paragraph. When you're the active player, you get to decide how your upkeep triggers or any triggers that happen at the exact same time. You get to decide the order in which they happen. So the nice thing about that when it comes to a card like this is you can say, okay, I'm going to put the first part on the stack first, meaning it's going to resolve last. I didn't talk to you a lot about like how familiar you are with Magic rules and the stack and things like that. What would you say, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you in terms of just general Magic rules? Just
Maybe
ballpark.
I yeah, maybe a 4 to 5, gonna be honest with you.
That's fine. So we might spend a lot of time talking about that because it's, knowledge of the stack and understanding how and when to interact with what others are doing is critically important. So I really want you to let me know when you're feeling confused and we'll try to straighten it out for you. Okay. So let me
Excellent.
explain this one to you and I want to see if you understand. So these, do you, let me back up. Do you know the difference between an activated ability and a triggered ability?
When you're saying it now, I don't. When I'm playing,
That's okay.
I can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
but no,
yeah. A lot
not
of
off the top
things
of
are
my head.
like that. Like you would get it or you will get it when I say it. And that's fine. So these are both triggered abilities. Triggers include the words like at or when or whenever. So it makes sense if you understand like what a trigger is, right? It's
Mhm.
a conditional like or in other words an if then sort of thing. So
Yep.
these are both triggered abilities. When triggered abilities would happen at the same time, then the active player, so in this case you, because it's your turn, gets to decide the order in which they occur. And then the stack operates in a last in, first out methodology. Does that like
Got it.
conceptually
Yes.
make sense to you?
Yes.
So if you imagine, just for the benefit of people watching, if you imagine, a stack of cards and you put down a 10 first and then a jack on top of it and then a queen on top of that, that's just like how the magic stack works. The queen was the last thing put in, but if you pick those cards up from top to bottom, that's how the stack is going to resolve in magic as well. So in the case of smokestack, if you wanted to really screw your opponents, you put the first trigger on the stack first, so it resolves last, and then you put the second trigger on the stack. So it's your turn, right? So now
Mhm.
the second trigger is going to happen first. It's the beginning of your upkeep. You sack a permanent for each counter on it. Okay, it's
Yep.
the first turn I had this out. It has no counters. I sack no permanents. And
Hmm.
then I go to the second trigger and I say,
And
yes,
I'll
I
put
do
the
want
first
to add a
counter.
suit counter on it. Exactly. So this card is the progenitor of the stacks nomenclature.
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, that was like a little bit of a diversion, but I think helpful, hopefully.
Not necessary, I think.
Yeah.
100%.
So stacks refers to pieces that like either have regularly punishing effects like smokestack or prevent people from doing stuff. Like, a spell like there's a card called dang, what is it called? It's like you can only play one spell a turn. I know the blue one. This is a stacks piece. It prevents you,
Yep.
it prevents everyone, and sometimes they're symmetrical and sometimes they're not. This is what it means when you see the word stacks. So
Got it.
white is known for its stacks, especially, and we're going to take advantage of that by playing some nasty stacks pieces, which we'll go over when we look at the cards. Token makers, just sort of incidental, treasure, whatever. And then big one, when you move to bracket 4, it's tutor time, baby. Like tutors, some people hate them, some people love them. They make there's no question that they make your deck very powerful because it's just consistency, right? It's a 100 card
Hmm.
format. So every tutor just increases the chance that you find the cards that you need. I think that's pretty obvious. So we're
Absolutely.
playing all the best tutors and we're in some of the best colors, especially black, to have like some really, really strong tutors. All right, let's take a quick look at the curve and how it changed. So a lot more zeros you can see. Like this is what contributed
Hmm.
in large part to lowering the average mana value. And then just much more of a low to high curve versus this is what I think a normal bracket 3 deck looks like, exactly how you had it, with the most twos, almost as many threes, and then curving down from there. This looks more like a CEDH deck where, these first two are very high and then it
Hmm.
just goes lower and lower from there. And you can see the differences laid out here. Any questions before we get into the list itself?
None right now.
Okay, I'm going to start a timer because I meant to do that. I'm trying to be better about like holding to the time because I'm bad at that. All right, so here's the updated list. So rather than just go through, and by the way, I moved your list from Architect to Moxfield. You can certainly put it back there, and you can just export it by going in and doing this and getting the list and putting it there. But all of
Mhm.
my custom types and tags here, like these, are in Moxfield. So I usually build in Moxfield, and if people send me deck lists in other formats, I just drop it in here. So that's why it's here, in case you were wondering. And you
Got it.
can access like those. So normal type is like sorcerers, creatures, etc. These types and tags are all entered by hand, and this is what I've done. Not just for your list. I actually didn't have to add very many for your list because I use what's called, and by the way, I'm shortcutting by pressing Shift T, which opens this change tags thing. These that say hashtag with exclamation point are called global tags, and they apply to any deck list you build on Moxfield. So you really only have to add them once ever. And then every time you add a Cauldron familiar to your deck, for example, it will automatically include the tags that you've put whenever you did this last. So then the
Got it.
only thing you ever have to tag is cards that you've never used before or cards that are new. But I think adding custom types and tags to your deck is the biggest level up that most players can get in terms of their deck building skills, because it gives you the most visibility and understanding about where to cut, where to add, and you know where your strengths and weaknesses might lie, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is just quick compare to your list. So I'm going to grab the link here. So even if, so these are both my deck lists, meaning that I created them on my account. But even if they weren't, like, if you took my new list here, copied this link, and then you were building another Abzan deck, Abzan meaning white, black, and green, that color combination, you
Hmm.
can drop my link in as a comparison and it'll show you the differences versus it. So I like that feature of Moxfield. It's very possible the other deck builders have it too. I just don't know. So I'm going to drop your original list here, hit compare, and then we're going to see cards that are unique to your original deck, 71, and then cards that are unique to my version, 71. So only 27 cards remain the same. So maybe we'll start off just by looking at these.
Hmm.
And I think the ones that you had already included that I chose to keep are very much all or primarily combo pieces. So Exquisite Blood, Veto, and then obviously super staples like Soul Ring, Black Market Connections. These cards go in like every black deck. So I was pretty impressed, being that you're a new player, with the quality of your deck build. Honestly, I see tons of deck lists, and I think yours was very good. So kudos on that. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. But I wouldn't feel bad that there's so many differences because we
Yeah,
change brackets. So that's
absolutely.
huge. Um, so rather than just look through here, there's so many cards here. I think we'll just go into the normal view. I just wanted to show you that functionality. So what I did, because I'm not super well versed on how all these combos work, I'm aware of them, but I play primarily bracket 3, so I'm not extremely familiar with them. So to find and make sure that I was including all the combos that made the most sense, I used EDH Rec, and I used the. So do you know what EDH Rec is, first of all?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I went to Frodo. Just let me walk you through exactly what I did to get here. And the link for this, by the way, is in the resources tab, the combos and explanations here. There's another website, which I'll show you how to get to, called, I don't know, we'll see it in a sec. So this is the homepage for the Frodo and Sam Commander combo. And then if I click combos here, it's going to show you the top combos, but then, oh, it's Commander Spellbook, this one. This is a good site too, but I
Hmm.
just chose to stick with EDH Rec here. So it tells you the top combos, what the requisites are for them, and what they give you. So I think this should be your Bible when it comes to like understanding what this deck does. I want you to really, and we're going to do it too. As soon as we finish looking at the list, we're going to come back here, make sure you really understand how all of these work. Because not only do you need to be able to execute them, you need to be able to explain them. And that
Hmm.
is the potentially challenging part, especially when you're in the stressful situation of a game and people are potentially upset because you're about to win. It can
Hmm.
be like kind of, you know, stressful and you can get flustered. It's happened to me, and I feel like I'm a very confident player, and I've seen it happen to others. And others have tried to execute combos against me, and they're like, I know this is an infinite. Like, I don't need to like explain to you how it works. I'm like, I think you do. Like, this is not
Yeah,
like,
100%.
yeah. So I want you. I don't I'm not at all concerned that this is an issue for you, but I'm going to say it to you anyway. And to anyone watching, please hear me. Like, don't let people bully you and tell you, like, they just won. If they can't explain what they're doing, then it's not legal. Period.
Hmm.
That's it. I don't care if it's a casual game. They're trying to win with an infinite. They need to be able to walk you through exactly what's happening. And if you don't understand, then that's a problem. So, like, make sure you understand. Don't just accept, because people are wrong all the time and they sound fucking confident sometimes, you know? It's like the worst, because you're like, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, and then you learn that they were completely wrong. And I'm guilty of this. If you've watched my games, you see me like so like strongly defending something because I absolutely know it's the way it works. And then I learned that I was wrong for like 25 years. It's happened to me numerous times.
Hmm.
So I'm not immune to this. No one is immune to this. So like just make sure you understand, and if you don't, like call a judge or call someone who knows, and you know, whatever. Anyway. All right. So trying to figure out what is the way that makes the most sense to go through this. I think so. When I think of like the three, I have a ton of categories here, right? So I know this can be a little bit overwhelming, and I've gotten feedback from people that say like, "Oh, like this is so like messy and confusing. Like, why didn't you simplify it?" I've found that this is the best system for me to have a little bit more detail and then to only use it when I need it. But you don't have to do your types and tags this way. This is just how I've chosen to do it. And what I've found is, like, for example, when I need a card draw, the only way I could not lose that game is by finding a card in my deck that can draw me a card. I like to be able to go to draw and
Hmm.
see all of the options I have to draw a single card. So that's how I sort of use these things. But I think when it comes to the like absolutely main categories that matter for a deck, there's three to me that come to mind: removal, card draw, and mana. Like those are by far the three most important things. So I think we'll just go over those three categories and the cards within, so we can understand what all those pieces are, and yeah, review any that like. I guess what I would like from you as you hear me, Julio, is
Hmm.
tell me if you feel like you don't understand why a card is included, or you just want more info about it. Because
Yep.
otherwise, I'm
Will
just
do.
gonna like
Hmm.
scroll over them, and if you don't stop me, I'm just gonna keep going, so we stay
Yep.
on time. So let's start with mana. So the Moxes are cards. First of all, they're game changers. Second of all, they're extremely expensive, especially Mox Diamond, because this is a reserve list card. Do you know what the reserve list is?
I do not.
Okay, I'll go over it very quickly. Back in the early years of Magic, like the first 5, 10 years, I think the first 5 years, they did a set called Chronicles. So the original expansion set, there was Alpha and Beta. Those are like the core sets, right?
Hmm.
And then there was the original expansion, or one of the original expansions, called Legends. And then later it was a black border set. And then later they did a set called Chronicles, where they did these white border reprints of a bunch of old like expansions. And it was still like in the early years of Magic. I think Chronicles came out in like 97 or something. And people flipped out because a lot of people had spent a lot of money on these like original cards from Alpha, Beta, and Legends, because the game had gotten wildly popular after the first couple of years. So as a measure to like make people feel safer in their investments in expensive cards, they created something called the reserve list, where they added, and they still like add stuff to it occasionally, not very often, but they'll add cards now and then. And these are cards that they have committed to never reprinting, period.
Got it.
Okay, so that's why Mox Diamond is so expensive. Aside from it being bonkers, it's a reserve list card. So literally the only way to have gotten this card is if you had it from a pack of Stronghold back in whatever year this is from, 1995, you know?
Yep.
This is actually a really, and here, it even says that here, you know, this is actually a really interesting one because they did reprint this card once. I think this is the only card that they ever did. And they did it in this set called From the Vault. Yeah, From the Vault Relics. I don't know. I'd be curious actually to know how they got away with this, especially from like someone like you, a lawyer who like maybe has knowledge of this sort of thing. But this is the only example I know of a card that they've reprinted, and they had some justification for this. So really interesting example. But anyway, this is probably the most expensive card in the deck. You don't need it. You know that I know you said no budget, so I put it in here because I think when I think no budget, I think Mox Diamond. But if you wanted to not go out and spend $700 on a Magic card, which is understandable, or proxy it, then this could easily be cut. So you could always let me know, and we can just honestly, you could just swap in a land for this. So yeah, the vast majority of our ramp, actually almost all of it, is either 0 or 1 mana. Really interesting, and not something that you're going to see in really any other deck except for like highly competitive bracket 4 plus decks. I would say most of the time ramp is 2 mana, good ramp. Like, you know, we don't even have Arcane Signet, we don't have the talismans. So why? I guess I'm not even going to ask you, like, when you're playing green has access, we're not even playing the amazing green ramp. So when I think of green, I think like the best ramp in green is like Farseek to a lesser extent, but still very good. But Nature's Lore and 3 Visits are the best of the best. And the reason for that is that these are 2 mana ramp spells that find you an untapped land. The untapped part is what's huge because, you know, you could cast on turn 3 with 3 land, you can cast a 3 Visits, fetch a forest, and then cast a Nature's Lore, or then cast a Farseek, whereas a Farseek can find you all these options, but it comes in tapped. So that's why Arcane Signet is so good too. But the artifact sources, you typically don't want to play in green because green has these other ways to ramp that are much safer and they don't die to like artifact sweepers. So that's why I would typically avoid artifacts in green. Now the 0 mana Moxen are exceptions because they're like extremely powerful. Anything that can generate free mana for you is going to be huge because oftentimes the difference between winning and losing a game is just a single mana. And especially with modern day Magic, you're only going to find yourself constrained on mana. Card draw has become trivially easy. So it's often a question of like, how can I, you know, in terms of constraints where you're going to get stopped, it's almost always going to be mana related. And that's why these free mana sources, even though they require heavy investments, like if you look at Chrome Mox, it requires that you exile a card from your hand to make it work. So that's like huge card disadvantage, right? So what we're getting out of it better be worth it. And hopefully it will be. And we'll, you know, see how that goes in testing. All right. So any questions on these? I'm going to scroll through them. This one is like kind of like a green Mox. It's, you know, not nearly as good. It's sort of like a Lotus Petal. So Lotus Petal is a, you know, one-time burst of 1 mana. So Elvish Spirit Guide is like a Lotus Petal, but a little bit worse because it can only make you green. But still, any way to make a free mana is going to be ultra powerful. And really it comes down to a question of tempo versus value. And as you move to the higher brackets, tempo becomes exponentially more important and value much less important because it's hard to get through your whole hand before someone's just winning. So that's why stuff like this really ends up working. Gemstone Caverns. There's actually a Lord of the Rings version if you want to
Yep.
spend a little bit more. It's the Glittering Caves of whatever. How do you say that? Aglarond or something. This is like a Chrome Mox or Mox Diamond, except it only works if you're not going first,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have to pitch a card. Mox Amber requires you have a legendary creature in play. Great with our commander, who's only 2 mana. So, you know, Frodo and Sam themselves are going to assist you in some of the combos you're doing, but there are going to be a lot of games, if you keep this the way I have built it, where you don't even need to play them. If you want it to be more about them, we can do that. But I just made it as strong as possible. And that means that what they do is sometimes a little bit less important. But it's
Yep.
always nice having a 2 mana commander because you don't always have a turn to play, even with this very powerful deck. And having someone come down that does something for you, especially like turns on Mox Amber or turns on a tutor like Diabolic Intent, gives you something to sacrifice. All of those are very important in a deck like this. Any questions on these things? I guess the only one I think that warrants a little more discussion is Lotus Cobra, and I will actually let you talk because I keep asking if you have questions and then I keep talking. I realize that. Lotus Cobra is very powerful, very, very powerful, and it's the reason we're playing it. And it's the only 2 mana ramp source. It's got landfall, make a mana of any color, and we're playing as many fetch lands as we are legally allowed to, which is all but 1. We're in a 3-color combination, so that means there's only 1 color pair that we literally can't play or doesn't have any use to us, and that's blue and red, right? So we're not playing the blue and red fetch land. The fetch lands, these are the most powerful lands in Magic.
Yep.
Okay? So even more powerful than the original dual lands. Do you know why?
I mean, you're gonna get 2 landfall triggers if we have Lotus Cobra, no? You're gonna get
That is one reason.
I
What
don't have the
else?
second reason off
So
the top of my head. I don't.
that's okay. It's not intuitive. So the landfall thing is huge, first of all. So good call on that. But what you might not understand from reading this is that it says search your library for a mountain or plains card. Now, you might notice something like Fabled Passage, which is a very good fetch land too, but definitely more a bracket 3 fetch land. This land says search your library for a basic land card, or if we look
Tapped.
at the tap, well, I mean, like, the tap part is important, of course, but what I wanted to hone in on here was the basic land part. So what these don't say is search your library for a basic mountain or basic plains card. Now, the distinction lies in that word basic. So if we look at Bayou, not the original card, because it actually is hidden in the rules text where it says here counts as both a swamp and a forest and is affected by spells. But if we look at what's called the errata, so errata is the like true rules text of the card based on all current updates and rules changes. So like the comprehensive rules of Magic are tremendously massive, and it's like you need to be a lawyer to understand all of them. Like Magic judges are very talented and they know so much. But the nice thing about Moxfield, and I'm sure Architect does this too, is if you click on the card, it will give you the Oracle text. This is like the errated text. So they took all of these words that were on the original card and they turned it into this and this. Importantly, this.
Correct.
And
Correct, yep.
if we look at like the shock lands, you'll see these say land, swamp, forest.
Yep.
Versus if we look at a land like, I think I cut them all. But even like very good lands like the Battle Bond lands, these ones that come in untapped if you have enough opponents, see how this is not a forest plains.
Correct.
That is the power of the fetch lands. What that means is that if you're playing a 5-color deck, this arid mesa can get you a land of any color, because a mountain can be any of the 5 or any of the 4 dual lands that include the mountain subtype. So there's 10 different dual lands, right? There's mountain plains, mountain swamp, mountain island, mountain forest.
Mm-hmm.
Arid mesa can get you any of those.
Yep.
Similarly, it can get you any plains island, plains forest, plains swamp, etc. So that's what makes the fetch lands so good. That's the second thing. The first thing is the landfall. The second thing is that they can get any color. These are untapped lands that get you any color. And the third thing, which is also very important, is that they shuffle your deck.
Yep.
This doesn't matter in this deck, but there are plenty of... Actually, it does matter in this deck. So we are playing 1 card for which this does matter. 2, actually. Sensei's Divining Top lets you look at the top 3, put them back in any order. Okay? So the reason we're playing this is not because of the fetch lands, though it's a nice benefit. It's because it combos with Aetherflux Reservoir and Bolas's Citadel, which we'll talk about when we go over the combos. But the nice thing is if you're not at the point where you're using that combo, but you have the top in play, you can look at the top 3, put them back in any order, take the one you want, and then crack a fetch land, shuffle away the chaff. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
Same story with Sylvan Library. Does basically the same thing, except when you play a Sylvan Library, the key is to just... This is a little hard to read, but basically like it says you draw 3 instead of 1, and then you get to keep all 3, but it costs 4 life per additional one. So if you kept just 1 like your normal, then you'd not take any damage. If you kept 2, you take 4. If you kept all 3, you take 8. So when you're playing Sylvan Library, both in this deck or in basically any deck, as long as your deck is built properly, you should almost always just take all 3 cards. I think a lot of new players are scared to use their life total. Don't be.
Correct. Yeah, it's another resource.
Exactly. You're going to win. I'm not going to sit here and tell you won't lose games occasionally because you were too greedy with Sylvan Library. But I will tell you that you will lose more games by not doing that on average, as long as you're like playing properly. So be greedier. I want you to lose games from being greedy, and then you can learn where the line is and back off.
100%. Yep.
Good.
Yeah, you got it. Same thing with Bola Citadel. You just got to keep on just HP.
Exactly. Yes. We're not playing Necropotence, but same thing with that. If you ever decide to, and it might be a good fit in this deck, honestly, but I don't want to get sidetracked here. So that's the mana. I think we're good there. So Lotus Cobra's nuts because, fetch land means 2 land, 2 extra mana every time you play a single fetch land. So very, very good card. Our draw is here. This is pretty light, honestly. Like what I'd like to see in my decks normally is like 7 or 8 single draw sources and then like 9 or 10 draw engines. However, when we're playing 10 tutors and much of the time we're going to be tutoring up the One Ring. Like the One Ring is the centerpiece of almost any deck in which it's included. Do you know what the One Ring is?
I do know what the One Ring is, but I'm just not that familiar with it. I know how it works, but not the intricacies out of it.
There's not really any intricacies, so let's just look at it. So it's 4 mana artifact. It comes in and it protects you until your next turn. So it gives you protection from everything until your next turn. This doesn't affect any of your stuff. So your stuff is all still vulnerable. It just means that you have protection from everything. What protection means is that there's an acronym to explain what protection does. It's DEBT, D-E-B-T, like you're in debt. It stops damage, enchantment equipment, blocking, and targeting. So anything that doesn't do one of those 4 things, protection won't help you. So for example, if someone has out a Marionette Apprentice that says whenever another artifact or creature you control is put into the graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. Does this do damage?
No.
It doesn't, because it says opponents lose life. You understand the distinction of that? Did you know that?
Correct.
Okay, good.
No, I did not know that, but I do now understand your explanation.
Okay, yeah. So the critical thing to remember, and I want you to remember this or write this down, is that damage causes loss of life. So if a creature hits you with combat damage, you lose that much life. But loss of life is not damage. So damage causes loss of life, but loss of life does not cause damage.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
What was the T? What was the last two?
Targeting.
I have targeting. Got it.
Yes. So let's look at a card as comparison, like Blood Artist. Okay. So we've got Marionette Apprentice, which causes each opponent to lose 1 life. Does this target?
Does not target.
Exactly, because it's each opponent, right?
Yep.
Now, Blood Artist, on
Mhm.
the other hand, causes loss of life, which we want if we're trying to pierce the ring's veil, so to speak, but it does target, right? So we cannot target that player if they have the One Ring's protection. Make sense?
Got it. Yep.
Okay. So the One Ring, you drop it, you get protection from everything. So there will be times where you want to save this until it it makes sense, because sometimes like the game, the game's about to end, and just like dropping this when someone was about to alpha strike you to death can be big. But I'd say 95% of the time, you just want to rush this out as fast as possible and ignore the protection element, because what it does is taps to draw a card. Well, you tap it, you add a counter to it, and you draw a card. And then on your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each counter on it. So you're always drawing ahead of losing the life. What that means is like, so this will draw you 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're drawing your 10th card, which is on turn 4 of having this out, at that point you've only taken 6 loss of life though, because you lose the life on your upkeep. So when you draw 4, you don't lose any life when you draw. You lose the life the following turn. So basically
Correct.
you're a turn ahead of the damage, and that's one of the reasons that makes this card absolutely insane. I I don't like that this card's in the format. It's so good that it just belongs in every deck, and it's utterly and like disgustingly powerful, which is appropriate for the One Ring. Like I like that they leaned into the theme, but man, it's game warping. So like, glad they made it a game changer, because if you want to play it in bracket 3, you have to make some sacrifices, but it's really powerful. And the people that are scared to use it because they're going to lose because of the damage, the damage is negligible. Like I was just
Correct.
talking to you about Sylvan Library, and you understood that example, and that's a much more egregious case.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, One Ring, what you're going to be doing when you play this deck is tutoring up the One Ring and playing it as fast as possible. That's going to be your game plan most of the time. Now, if you were to ask me, and you might be thinking this, well, why wouldn't I just tutor up one of my 2-card combos that just wins the game? You could do that, and it might make sense to do that in some games, but you know, I think more often getting the One Ring and like playing a little bit more slowly is going to yield to more wins, because people will be prepared to deal with one thing. But if you can just start having a huge advantage over them, and like having enough resources to have redundancy with what you're doing, that's when it's hard to stop you from winning. So
Here's the one thing with
yeah,
the One Ring. You can tap it to add a counter and draw a card, not only on your turn, on anyone else's turn, correct?
yes.
Got it.
Now, I think the majority of the time you should be drawing on your turn, because you want to
The
have
upkeep
full
damage doesn't
access.
affect you.
Well, the damage is going to happen in the next turn's upkeep no matter what. So the question of when to use it really only comes down to 2 things. And most of the time you just want access to as much info as possible. So you can play the best land for turn, for example. Like, to give you an example, we have a land like Ancient Tomb that gives 2 mana. So
Mm-hmm.
if you play your land before you tap the One Ring and draw cards, you might not know that you would have had access to a whole bevy of additional options for your turn because you drew an Ancient Tomb, versus playing
Yep.
a land that can only produce 1 mana. And when we're playing other 0 mana sources like these, it's really important that you just draw first, because you want to like know all the options you have. Now, there are going to be times where it does make sense to wait, though. The two biggest examples I can think of are if there's a stacks piece in play that's going to damage you when you draw. Something like Shieldred the Apocalypse is an example. This punishes it if you
Hmm.
don't have it. You know what it is already?
Yes. Is it the you take 2 when you draw?
Yes. So if
Yeah.
someone has this out, then maybe you wait to draw because it's very possible someone else will remove the Shieldred because there are
Correct.
3 players at the table who are not going to be happy that there's a Shieldred out. So
Hmm.
if you have the ring in this scenario, you definitely don't want to necessarily draw into it unless you're just trying to win that turn. Like,
Hmm.
so you're going to have to decide on a case by case basis. But I'd say in general, draw on your turn, unless like you're going to be way over hand size. Sometimes the ring gets up to 5, 6 counters and you're already at 7 in hand. Then maybe you wait and don't draw on your turn because you don't want to have,
Correct. Yeah.
15 cards in your hand and have to discard to hand size. But the one thing I'll tell you right now is that don't be afraid to discard or mill. This is something that I see all the time from new players. And again, I don't think that you would be victim to that mentality, but like, don't stress about discarding or milling. Like, if you're sculpting your hand down to your best 7, like, you're winning
Hmm.
that game.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
okay. So those are our draw engines. We don't have as many. Basically, my point is we don't have as many as I think I would have in most decks because we have tons of ways to find these pieces. And that's what we're going to be doing and looking for when we do mulligans. And lastly, we did mana, we did draw engines, and removal. So removal is the least important part of a high powered deck because it's hard to interact with people or what people are doing sometimes, and also it's less important to interact with what people are doing. The hardest part about being a new commander player, and this is something that I can't teach you, it's just going to take a lot of practice and a lot of like watching games and stuff, is understanding threat assessment and knowing what the big problems are and when to deal with them. Because sometimes you'll have a decision where you have a piece of removal in your hand and you have no idea what to do with it. And I would encourage you very strongly to just ask the table because when people ask the table in a game I'm in, I will tell them honestly if I think what I have is the biggest issue. Now, I wouldn't expect other people to do that. In fact, just that's not something that you should expect ever. But there are
Hmm.
2 other people at the table that are much more likely to give you a more honest answer. So
Hmm.
definitely just ask because there's so many new cards too. And don't feel bad about not knowing what the issue is. And I would just tell them, like, hey, I'm a little bit new to Magic. Like, what do we think the problem is here? And
Hmm.
then you don't even have to like tell them that you're planning to remove something. You just might want to understand what the potential is. You could phrase it that way too. You can say like, what should I be worried about here? Or like, what is do we feel like anyone's close to winning? Those are the kinds of things like you might want to get comfortable asking until you're starting to become a lot more familiar with what everyone can do because it's really hard to know how everyone's going to win.
The other
Um,
thing is that
yeah,
in
go
the
ahead.
colors that we are, we
Hmm.
don't, maybe I'm completely wrong, but we don't have a lot of removal or counter spells like we would have in a blue deck, for example, you know?
Well,
Is that fair to say?
we don't have a lot of counter spells, but we are in the best removal colors. White and
Got it.
black are the two, s- by far the 2 best colors at removing permanents. White is the single best. It has cards like Swords to Plowshares, for example, is like this is the de facto creature removal spell. Like there's
Mhm.
no better removal spell for a creature than this card. Not a
Got it.
single one. Um, Green is excellent too. Actually, this color combination, white, black, green, is probably the strongest removal 3 color combination. Blue and red are the worst.
Got
But
it.
there are a lot of good removal spells in every color, to be honest. Counter spells, mainly blue, but white has some good ones too. Actually, you were already playing one of them, which is Reprieve. This is a
Hmm.
great spell. We also added Veil of Summer. This is a like conditional counter spell. It can, it's not exactly a counter, but it can stop a spell a blue or black spell that would try to destroy one of your things by giving
Got it.
both you and your permanents protection, and it's a cantrip, meaning by cantrip I mean like a spell that replaces itself.
Understood.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that's removal. I think it makes sense to just jump into looking at the combos and then mulligan practice, because I think I'm already over time. So any questions before we move past this stuff?
None right now.
Okay. And, if you have questions afterwards, just I'm, of course, available for follow-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, always just ask me in Discord. Let's look at the combos because we want to know what we're trying to do with this deck. So the main combos that I think make the most sense are the 2-card combos. Those are going to be the easiest ways to win. And I think before we look here, I want to just talk about the 2-card combos that are sort of infamous in these colors. The first one I think of when I hear any deck that includes white is Heliod Suncrowned. Let me sort by name. So Heliod Suncrowned. So the important part of him, don't worry about all the stuff about him not being a creature and all that. The important part is whenever you gain life, put a +1 counter on a creature. And then the second ability to give a creature lifelink. Okay? So just remember those things. And then Walking Ballista is the other piece. So you give him lifelink using Heliod. And then that means whenever he deals damage to a player, for example, you gain a life. And then Heliod triggers and gives him another counter, and you rinse and repeat. And he can do infinite damage to every creature and player.
Here's the question with Heliod.
Yes.
Absolutely. But with Heliod, to activate his 1 and the white mana, right? The 2, you don't have to tap him or anything. It's just you can just keep on paying that as much as time as you want, as long as you have the open mana for it, obviously, right?
Correct, but you don't ever need to use it more than once. The only reason you would need to use it more than once is if like let's say you paid 1 and a white to give your Walking Ballista lifelink. That activation goes on the stack. And just to go back, if you don't see a tap symbol, everything before the colon is the cost of activation. So if you look at something like a Bird of Paradise, what's before the colon here?
Tap. Yeah, you have to tap it.
So everything to the left of the colon is the cost of activating. Okay, so just remember that. That's important. If you don't see a tap symbol, it means you can do it right away. Otherwise, like a Bird of Paradise can't tap when it comes down because it has Summoning Sickness. Now, Heliod would be a little bit different because he's not a creature unless you have Devotion of at least 5. Do you know what that means?
Correct, yes. It's from your creatures. It's if, for example, you count the little... From permanents,
not just creatures. Yeah.
Every little white thingy at the top. it has a specific name for it. I just don't know
pips,
it right now.
People call it. Exactly. So the nice thing about Heliod is you don't want him to be a creature because he's easier to remove when he's a creature. Even though he has Indestructible doesn't stop exile. So like a Swords to Plowshares will get Heliod, right? Unless he's not a creature. So if you have less than 5 devotion, he's not a creature. So he's just an enchantment. And if he had a tap ability, which he doesn't, but just for the purposes of this discussion, he would be able to tap then, because only creatures are affected by Summoning Sickness. Okay?
Correct.
That's a little complicated and doesn't exactly matter for this deck, but I just want you to know that. Okay, so back to your question. So let's say I put Heliod's activation on the stack targeting my Walking Ballista. An opponent is like, oh no, we're about to lose the game. And they say, okay, in response, I'm going to Swords to Plowshares your Heliod. And you're like, no, you can't. He's not a creature. And they're like, oh shit. Okay, in response, I'm going to Swords to Plowshares your Walking Ballista. At that point, you're out of luck because your activation
100%.
hasn't given him lifelink yet, so you can't start the combo. Unless you have another 2 mana and you can, in response to their Swords to Plowshares, try to give him lifelink again. And now that's at the top of the stack. And if that resolves, you can keep responding to the Swords to Plowshares that is still hovering and go infinite and kill them. And then the swords never happens because it's still on the stack.
Correct, because we're working from back to front,
Yes.
So
that is why you might do exactly what you suggested, which is activate this twice, But typically you're only going to activate it once and people will just scoop. But if they have an answer, just keep in mind, and it might be worth waiting a turn till you have enough to do it twice, but
Hmm.
probably not. You should, I think typically if you've got an infinite in your sights, just go for it. You should
Hmm.
protect yourself when you can, but like, we'll talk about that when we do mulligans. So that's the first combo. There's a line with Protean Hulk. This one's pretty complicated, so I'd encourage you to spend some time looking at it afterwards. But when Protean Hulk dies, you get to get 6 mana value worth of creatures from your deck and put them into play. This, as long as this is going to result in you winning the game if it happens and no one interacts. I will tell you the pieces very quickly right now, but it's going to be a little long to explain. So I think that you should just look at it afterwards. But I think the only thing you need to understand when we're doing mulligan practice is that if you get Protean Hulk out and you're able to sacrifice him, then you win.
Got it.
Okay. The
Hmm.
combo, just so you know, is here. If you just look for Protean Hulk, you'll find it, or you might need to like actually look for Protean Hulk here. It's the main one. So if you go to combos, it's this combo right here. So he
Got it.
finds Body Snatcher, and we're not playing Blood Rush, we're playing Marionette Apprentice, but they do the
Hmm.
same thing in terms of what this combo does, which is ping everyone. And then Body Snatcher allows you to like reanimate. So this is 2 mana and this is 4. So
Hmm.
that's your whole 6 that Protean Hulk gets you. But then the Body Snatcher lets you get Protean Hulk back and do it again. And then you get these other 2 pieces. Or
Got
I
it.
forget exactly how it works, but it tells you if you just click here and look at it. So that one's a little complicated, but I think it's pretty easy to understand when you break it down. But for the purposes of this video and for this mulligan practice, just know that the Protean Hulk can win you the game instantly as a single card, but it's 7 mana. So like that one is a little bit harder to pull off, but it's going to happen some games.
Hmm.
There are combos with, can't remember what else, Experimental Confectioner. Let's go back to the Frodo and Sam page. This combo, 2-card combo, gives you infinite card draw and infinite draw, and also some other things. So, like, let's just look at this, and I want you to explain. Just read these 2 cards and see if you can explain to me how this combo works.
Harrigan took an
Yeah,
experimental concoction, whatever.
Confectioner. Yeah.
So with Peregrine Took, I'm always getting 2.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I make a token, I'm gonna get an additional food token. So if I make a treasure, a clue, or whatever, I'm always
Mm-hmm.
gonna get a food token after. So I'm always gonna be +2.
Correct.
And then first paragraph of experimental, it's kind of whatever. I'm just gonna get a free food token, but
That's
it's gonna
not
trigger.
whatever, though. That part's very important because otherwise, without that first part, you need to have some other way to start the combo. So he
Got.
gives you the way to start the combo.
But with here's where I'm just a little bit confused. So Peregrine Took obviously has to be first, then experimental is gonna come in. Once experimental comes in, I'm gonna make her food token from experimental, and then Peregrine is gonna go ahead and make me a second food token. So I'm at 2, right?
So
Um,
this is the part we're missing. So you do need like one other food already to start the chain. So that's why so I just want to back up and see like what we're missing. See this like part that's
correct.
hiding
Yeah.
here? So let's zoom in and say, okay, now imagine we already have 3 foods to start and these 2
Hmm.
guys are already down. So you already got, so you needed only 1 food. So let's say like you have
Correct.
nothing on the board except for 1 food and you have infinite mana. You play Peregrine Took first and then you play the Confectioner. The Confectioner makes you 1 food and then Perrin says, oh, you're making a food? Here's another one. So now we have
Hmm.
3, right? So
Hmm.
now go through the combo and see if you can figure it out.
Activate Took by sacrificing the 3 foods. I mean, it's kind of I'm gonna need a lot of mana unless I have like Samwise, on the field because that's already 6 mana to sacrifice the 3 foods. But if I have enough mana, then I get experimental triggers a second ability, creating 3 triggers 3 times, creating 3/1/1 rats
Hmm.
and 3 food tokens.
Hmm.
Okay. Resolve the
You
Peregrine
see
Took
what
ability,
happens now?
causing you to draw a card. Yeah, so it's just going to keep on going infinite.
We're going to draw our whole deck and make a billion rats.
Correct. Correct.
Not
And just
infinite rats, but
correct.
yeah.
And then I'm just gonna draw my whole deck out from Peregrine Took's second line.
Yes.
Sacrifice 3 foods and keep on drawing and drawing and drawing. Okay.
And then when we draw our whole deck, we're going to draw a bunch of this 0 mana stuff. So like, let's say you're out of mana, right? It doesn't matter
Mhm.
because you're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of free mana plus Soul Ring, plus maybe Springleaf Drum. You're going to draw a bunch of bonus mana basically, and
Mhm.
then you can win with whatever. Like, all you will need to win at that point, since you have so many rats, is some kind of sack outlet. So if we go to my types and tags and look at what our sack outlets are, okay, this is like one time. This is a free sack outlet, right? So see his activated ability. The only thing before the colon is sack a creature. There's no additional cost to this, right? So this is
Correct.
our best sack outlet because it's only 1 mana. But then we've got a very powerful one like Warren Soul Trader, which costs us 1 life each time we do it, but makes us a treasure every time. And then you could see how you might win from this point. There are a million
Understood.
ways, right? We've
Here-
got, go ahead.
Here's one question I have specifically with Warren Soul Trader, and this question is going to answer my other question with Sauron. When it says pay 1 life, can I pay the 1 life on? Is it only on my turn, or whenever someone does something on their turns, it can go on the stack?
So if every ability that you see on any card can be done anytime unless it tells you it can't.
Okay,
Okay. So you
understood.
should assume that anything can be done whenever you want. And if that isn't true for some reason, the card will tell you that.
It was my
So
understanding that
go
only
ahead.
instants could be cast. For example, an opponent. So an opponent summons casts a spell.
Mhm.
I can activate an instant. I didn't know that when an opponent, for example, the same hypothetical, he casts a spell, immediately I can just say, okay, I'm just going to pay the 1 life from Warren, sacrifice another creature, and boom, create a treasure token.
Yeah,
So,
so in terms of casting spells, the only thing you can cast on someone else's turn is an instant or a spell that has flash, which is basically makes it an instant. But
mhm,
abilities are not the same. Activating abilities can be done anytime, unless it
got
tells
it.
you that it can't be, or your creature has summoning sickness. In this case, the Warren Soul Trader, it doesn't matter if it has summoning sickness because it doesn't need to tap. Does that make sense? The only thing
Correct.
that matters in terms of summoning sickness is if the creature has a tap ability.
Got it.
So like veto, this can be done anytime. You could give your creature's lifelink on an opponent's turn when they're if opponent's attacking you and you have a huge board, you could say, I'm going to pay 5, give all my guys lifelink.
Understood.
Cool. All right.
Mhm.
So yeah, this combo gets you your whole deck, and then it's trivially easy to win at that point because you'll have access to every single combo in your deck. And I don't even know what the best ones are necessarily. I'm going to go over what they all are for you just so you understand. And I will try to write them all out for you in this document too, like all of the
Mhm.
main ones. But we went over a couple there. There's also the Aetherflux Reservoir combos, which I'll cover in a sec. There's the main one, which I think you already had, which is Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond.
Correct.
Those you understand already, right?
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
if you can explain them, that would also be great because maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
I
No, of
I think
course.
I do, but maybe I'll learn something new.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's actually quite easy, this one. So where's Exquisite Blood? Okay, so here's Exquisite Blood. Okay, pretty simple,
Mhm.
right? Anytime an opponent
Yep.
loses life for any reason, you gain life. And then Sanguine Bond's the opposite. Whenever you gain life, an opponent loses. So let's say you have both out, right? And you gain 3 life. What
Mhm.
happens then?
Each
Tell me
opponent's
like
gonna
what
lose.
triggers. No, not each opponent, right? Target opponent.
Target opponent loses that 3 life.
Okay, so you pick an opponent, they lose 3. Then what happens?
I'll gain back that 3 in life from Exquisite Blood, and then it's gonna. Oh, I see the cycle. It's just gonna
Yeah.
keep on go and then go. Okay.
Yep. So those are the two enchantment versions of this. And that's why we're playing this card, Academy Rector, which is it's a 1/2. When it dies, you get to find any enchantment from your deck, put it on the battlefield. So this is this could get you either of those pieces. Okay. So that's why
Excellent.
this is here. And then we've got like a lot of tutors that can find enchantments, like Enlightened Tutor's one of the best tutors in your deck because you can get an artifact or enchantment. Most of the time you're going to get what with this? As we
Enlightened
discussed
Tutors.
at the beginning, any artifact or enchantment.
Am I just looking for one of my
I want you to
Chrome
have,
mods?
no, I told you,
Oh,
what are you
Hulk.
doing? Nope. What is the
Oh
like
my
main
God.
thing you want to be doing most games is just rushing
The One
out?
Ring. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
of course.
You're Sauron right now, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you with me?
Yeah. 100%. Yep.
So I know that these hobbits are your commanders, but like honestly, you don't give a shit about these guys.
Yep.
You would
Yep.
step on them and like crush them into the ground to get the one ring because that
Yep.
is all that matters. I'm just kidding, kind of. Like, there are going to be plenty of games where it's better to just go for a combo, and you're going to learn that. That's something that I can't teach you. You just have to like get a feel for the deck. But I'd
Yep.
say in a vacuum, if you don't know what to do, just rush out the one ring, and that's going to give you all the tools you need. And then you don't need to find anything else because you will naturally draw into all of these different combos that we have, and you'll like feel out which one is the best for any given situation.
Yep.
Um, so there's the Exquisite Blood combos. There are, I feel like I'm missing an obvious one. Oh, Chain of Smog stuff. Okay. So this is a little bit of an unintuitive one, but very powerful. So, okay. So this card causes a target player to discard 2, and then that player can copy that spell and choose a new target for that copy. So there's a whole cycle of these chain of X, and they all
Hmm.
work like this. The player you target gets the option to do something, and if they do that something, then they get to copy the spell and like send it back to
Yes.
someone else, or they can just say I decline and it ends. So how
Correct.
would this win us the game? Well, there's a card called Witherbloom Apprentice, which says anytime you cast a spell, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. This card plus Chain of Smog wins you the game instantly. Because what you do is you target yourself with Chain of Smog, you discard 2 cards, and you copy the spell. You target yourself again, add
Mhm.
infinitum.
Correct.
You just keep targeting yourself, and you've cast infinite spells, and you do infinite loss of life to everyone, gain infinite life.
Here's
Pretty
the and
nasty
here
2-card combo.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
here's where my Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge is kind of different from Magic. So with this combo, it's going to come to a point. I mean, maybe not so, because we have
Mhm.
100 cards and everyone just has 40 life. So maybe it's not going to apply. But there may come a time where I just completely just deck out. You know.
Okay, so I need to clarify something for you then. So discard means from your hand and mill means from your library. These are different.
Okay.
Okay, so when when you run out of cards in your hand, it it could matter, but it doesn't for this card. So if this card said as an additional cost to cast the spell, discard 2 cards. Let's just imagine with me that it says that instead of what it says. Then this combo would not work because you could not pay the additional cost of discarding 2 cards. But the way it's worded is target player discards 2 cards. If you're targeted to discard 2 cards and you don't have 2 cards, it doesn't matter. You can't,
Understood.
and you just get to do it again.
Got
Do
it.
you
So the
understand the
spell wouldn't.
difference between how it might be worded? Now, if it said
Correct.
target player mills 2 cards, and it even says from his or her hand, but if this were like if we look at the errata, it won't even say from hand. See, they just
Mhm.
shortcut that now because discard just means from hand and mill
Got it.
means from library.
So the spell wouldn't fizzle even though I have 0 cards and I target
No,
myself to keep on just discarding. Okay.
exactly. The only way a spell fizzles is if the target goes away.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is a 2-card combo that you could, this might be one that you win with frequently. If your only goal is to win as fast as possible, this is one of the most efficient, maybe the most efficient one in the deck. If you draw into naturally either of these pieces, or God forbid you draw both of these pieces, and like you could win on turn 1 with this in theory, because it's only 4 mana, you know, and we have a bunch of fast mana in the deck. So there are hands that just win here, like turn 1. Pretty nasty,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're already like at time, but I'm okay going a little bit over if you are, because I spent too much time on a lot of this stuff. So
I'm not
are
complaining.
you good? Are you good going over a tiny bit?
Yes, not complaining at
Okay,
all.
good. I want to jump into mulligans. I just want to talk about one more thing because we didn't quite get to it. It's the stacks pieces. Okay. So let's just go over the ones that we have. Drannith Magistrate. This card is disgusting. Don't play this card if you want to make friends or keep friends. I made the mistake of playing this card when I was new to Commander, and I learned very quickly that I shouldn't be playing it in certain games. But we're playing a nasty and powerful deck, and this is a nasty and powerful card. What does this mean? Tell me why this is so bad for opponents. What do you think?
They have no access to their graveyard or to their exile pile if they have any, mechanism to
What
get
else?
cards. And
That's not the answer.
opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. I don't know what you're reading into it.
What format are we playing here?
Commander. Oh, they can't even put their commander down.
Bingo.
That's hilarious.
That's Drannith. You
Yeah.
land him on turn 2, and people, sometimes people just don't have removal, and they're like, okay, well, I guess I'm completely out of the game.
Yep.
It'll happen. Now, if this happens against you, this deck's still going to work. You don't need
Exactly.
the hobbits. So, like, it's not always going to be perfect, but, like, this is where having a more intimate knowledge of what every commander does is going to really help you. Or, in other words, it's going to hurt you from not knowing that. But you might be able to ascertain it just by, like, having a very keen understanding of what the commanders do.
Just some commanders, for example, the Ur Dragon. Yeah, this card might not be the best against the Ur Dragon because Eminence is still a whole thing,
Bingo.
But
Yes.
like an Atraxa where she has proliferate, lifelink, the five
Or
keywords one.
like
Yeah, I don't want
any commander who is part of their combo, like Niv
exactly.
Mizzet has a very
Or
famous combo with Curiosity, which is like whenever Niv Mizzet deals damage, you draw a card, whenever you deal whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet deals 1 damage to something, and then you enchant it with Curiosity, which is a 1 mana blue aura that says whenever he deals damage, you draw a card. So it just creates this infinite loop where you draw and ping everyone.
correct.
Drannith will shut them down completely because their commander is how they're going to win. And everyone knows that. So you'll learn that over time. But I think you're a smart enough guy that you could figure it out just from reading the commanders. But sometimes it won't always be intuitive. So it could be worth asking. Like, I would really, really encourage you to ask. I know I said it earlier, but like, if you don't understand why a commander is, like, you're in a very high level game and you're like, why are you playing that commander? Just ask. Like, just say
100%.
like,
And
what does that
that's
commander
something I
do?
do right now. For example, there's the 0 cost, 0/1 Rogwrath, whatever. And for
Yeah.
the life of me, I see everyone playing him with a partner, and I'm like, dude, what? How the hell is this card even good? It's a 0/1 nothing, which is 0 mana. It doesn't do anything.
The answer
But it
is much simpler and lamer than you might think. And it
got it.
is Mox Amber is one
There you
answer.
go. Yep.
And the other answer is Diabolic Intent.
Got it. Yeah, you can
And
just sack him.
stuff like this.
Excellent.
There
Yep.
are things that Matt care about having a creature in play for whatever reason. He's a free way to do that. And with some partners that he can combo with, like Arden and Intrepid Archaeologist, she can like auto equip all of your equipments. So that's a cool combo with Arden and Rograk because you can play him only when you're ready. That way he's safe. And then he comes down, she auto equips all of your stuff, gives him haste and like all these keywords, and he just kills someone.
Absolutely.
Okay, back to stacks. Grand Abolisher, best card you could have in play. Nothing will make you feel safer when you're about to combo off. right? This is a
Yep.
must counter card for opponents because if you put this on the stack, let's say opponent only has one counter, they're like, shit,
Mhm.
now what do I do? Because they
Yep.
either have to counter this or they have to let it resolve and then they can't counter anything.
Exactly.
Bowmaster's insane. You know, it has flash. Make sure you use it as such. It
Mhm.
punishes people who are trying to draw infinite cards. Basically,
Mystic
they
Remora
can't.
people.
Well, not just Mystic Remora. Any, you know, like if you play the combo that
Yeah.
we were just looking at, this one where you're drawing your whole deck, someone
Yep.
flashes in a Bowmaster, all of a sudden you have to stop because if
Yep.
you draw 40 cards, you're dead.
With Bowmasters, quick question.
Hmm.
I there's a period right after, and then it says then amass orcs
Yeah,
once. You're only amassing one time with Bowmasters, correct? You're not amassing every time they draw a card,
every
or
time.
every time they draw their second card, or and then after you're amassing orcs.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, did not know
Do
that.
you know what a mass means?
Yes, you start off with a 0/0 army. As soon as you
Yep.
amass one, you'll make a 1/1, and then it just keeps on getting higher and higher.
Yes. So if you put
Got
down actually, like, if you watch the game I'm going to post tomorrow, the Norman Osborn game, I posted one yesterday, not the one I'm talking about. The one I'm
it.
going
Hmm.
to post tomorrow, I had an Orcish Bowmasters and I played like Windfall, for example, and everyone discards and draws 7. And then
Hmm.
Bowmaster shoots 21 times and you amass 21. Yeah, it's nasty.
Excellent.
Um, this is, I guess, the cheapest version, but this is normally just called Silence. It's a
Yep.
1 mana Grand Abolisher effect. Now, it's a little bit different because Grand Abolisher says they can't activate abilities also, which is very good,
Yep.
right? But
Hmm.
this is still gonna like be a similar effect where you cast it and it's a must counter because if they don't counter it, then you win.
Yep.
Sometimes it's worth just casting this to get your One Ring out, you know? Because
Hmm.
if opponent has a counter, they're going to stop counter your One Ring. So you kind of don't want that to happen, right? So
Yeah.
it can be worth using this in that space, but like, you know, it's up to you.
Or if you have, for example, maybe like a blue opponent that just has a ton of open mana and cards, in hand,
Hmm.
you might just want to say, listen, I'm just gonna throw this card away. I'm gonna throw away the silence, so then I can cast, for example, my Grand Abolisher when I know the dude has one less counter in his hand.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm just wrong.
I mean, I think it would make more sense just to try the Abolisher first because, well, I don't know. I think try the Silence first because it's cheaper, right? If it
Yeah.
works, fine.
Yep.
If not, you play the Abolisher.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It probably depends on the situation. But yeah, I think you have the right idea. The other thing about this card that you should not ignore is that you can cast it on an opponent's turn. If they're about to win, you can
Yep.
silence them in their upkeep, and then they're like, shit.
Yeah. Yep.
It's nasty, but like,
Toxic.
you know, someone's about to win, you
Of
can
course.
tell, then this can throw a wrench in their plans because it's
Hmm.
an instant. And lastly, a Ranger Captain is great because he's a silence effect if you sack him, but he's also a tutor for a mana value 1 or less creature. Now, let's look at our creatures that are mana value 1 or less and tell me what an important one is that you might grab with him. Okay, so I'm
Let
going
me
to
go
go
to
back up. I'm going to switch to types and I'm going to sort by mana value. So we just want to look at the ones that are from Gravecrawler up.
Gravecaller up. How did you? I did type. Oh, by mana value. There we go.
Yes.
Creatures.
So just
I mean,
these,
yeah,
yeah, these 10 or so.
correct.
Which
Here's
is the one that stands out to you as something you might grab to go for a win?
for a win.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I do see a ton of different like
Remember we
mana
talked about
boards.
Walking Ballista Heliod?
Yeah, but is
That's
is mana is Walking Ballista just considered a one?
it's considered a 0.
0. Excellent.
Hmm.
Yeah,
This actually shouldn't be here. I've changed this
yeah,
mana value unnaturally to 0, so you couldn't find this.
got it.
I just put it as a 0 for the purposes of like looking at the deck. But if you didn't like this, you could go in and like change it. Yeah, so Walking Ballista is what you would grab with Ranger Captain, and then he gives you a way to protect yourself as you like try to combo with it. And then
Got it.
also there's a combo with Cauldron Familiar. You can look it up in the combos. I want to get into mulligans now.
Hmm.
So what are we looking for in mulligans? The thing I'm going to tell you right now, and I want you to really take to heart because it's hard to do, but very important, is you should probably be taking more mulligans than you currently are. I don't know you,
Yep.
but I've coached a lot of people, and people don't take enough mulligans, period. Don't be scared. A bad a good mulligan to 5 is like leaps and bounds better than a average or a bad 7. Like
Absolutely.
if you think of like, a hand that's like Dark Ritual, which gives you basically +2 mana, you could play a like turn one ring with this, right? With just
Hmm.
one land, one Dark Ritual, the one ring, and a Mox, you know?
Yep.
So like you're not going to get that hand all the time, right? But
Hmm.
that's the kind of hand you could be getting. And there are such good hands that you can find. So before we start, I just want to say, like, take more mulligans. What I want you to do is look at your first 7 and be like, is this hand like absolutely insanely disgusting? And if the answer is not yes, a resounding yes, then you should probably take a mulligan.
Yep.
Okay. So you're going to see hands that you're like, oh, this looks playable. I've got a like mana dork. I've got 3 land, like whatever. If you don't have a clear like path and plan for the first 3 turns, I want you to consider tossing it and trying again. Okay. And then I know you
Yep.
don't know every card here, so I want you to take your time and like read the cards and be really thoughtful about your decision. Don't feel rushed, especially in games. Like a lot of players are bullies and they're like nasty. Please don't let them do that. I don't expect that from you, but like take your time. Don't feel rushed. It's hard not to. Sometimes
Yeah.
like you feel like, oh, I'm taking forever. So that's why I'd encourage you to just do a bunch of this mulligan practice and really feel like you have the lines down. And even like if you have the deck and paper, practicing it on your desk, that could be huge. Like just
Yep.
practice, practice, practice. So you feel like you know exactly what to do. When you're tutoring, you know what you're getting, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think enough said. Let's do it. All right. So what I want you to do is tell me, first of all, if the hand is like absolute trash, like there's no land, I don't need a like in-depth
Of course.
explanation. We can just say like
Yeah.
obvious mulligan next.
Yep.
Um, we're going to assume that we don't know the turn order. Okay. And
Hmm.
we're going to assume that this is our opening 7. And if we mulligan this hand, we're going to a second 7. And if we
Hmm.
mulligan that hand, we're going to 6, and so on. So I want you to talk me through if you're keeping this hand, why or why not. If you don't know, that's fine. Just tell me, we'll talk about it. But go.
Yeah.
Take your
I
time.
think, yeah, and just from seeing it, we have 2 lands, and one of them is going to enter tapped.
Hmm.
So here's the situation: we don't, and knowing the deck that how we know it now, we have so much gas to put on the fire. I don't think this hand is good enough. We do
Yeah.
have like a turn one play, maybe we'll play the sack, we'll play like our shock land, whatever, search
Hmm.
for a plains or whatever
Yes, we'll
the
assume that
equivalent it is.
that
Yeah,
fetch land can get any color, so no stress
yeah,
about that. We have all the best lands, so don't,
yeah,
that's a fine assumption.
exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll play Esper Sentinel, but we really don't
Hmm.
have any gas afterwards. We'll
Hmm.
play the Esper Sentinel, but we don't have, for example, let's say we'll go into turn 2. If we
Hmm.
don't draw a land or something there, then I'm really
Hmm.
behind, I think.
So you're thinking
You
toss
know,
this?
I think so, honestly.
I think you're
Knowing we
right.
have like Mox
It's a
Diamond.
close call. Like, Esper's turn 1 Esper's really good, right?
Yeah.
Especially at high bracket, like there are gonna be more people playing more non-creature spells in the early turns. So you're gonna
Hmm.
see more cards off this. I think this hand is really dependent on the turn order. If you're going first, I think this is a keep because that
Yeah.
means you get Esper Sentinel out in front of everyone's turn 1, and anyone
Hmm.
who has a Soul Ring or a Mox or anything like that is going to feed you a card. And if we draw any untapped land, this hand becomes very good, I think, because we have Lotus Cobra then, and we can
Hmm.
really accelerate. We don't have any we don't have any draw engine, which is a big problem, or
Yep.
any tutor. So I think we do have a surveil land which will help us see. It's kind of like drawing a card, right? In that we can
Hmm.
clear away any card that isn't what we need. So you should consider these similarly to drawing a card. But I think we could do better than this. So I agree with you. This was a tough one, I think, and I'm impressed and I agree with your decision. All right, here's our second 7.
Oh, we have gas.
We
I
have
th-
gas.
I think we definitely have gas. We're shocking in our land. into
Hmm.
shocking our land. I mean, we're obviously going to play our Lotus Petal afterwards. What are we
So
sacking?
real quick, I just want to
Yeah.
stop you there. You know, this is a tough call, and I'm not. This is where my like lack of expertise at like higher bracket Magic will come into play. But I wouldn't just automatically assume that this is a play. I think it probably is, especially since you're getting it down before people's Esper Sentinels or Mystic Remoras and stuff. But
Hmm.
there are also reasons where you might not want to play it because they might have some sweeper for early
Hmm.
game artifacts. So if you're not going to use it right away, maybe consider holding it. Just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that in. Keep going.
Here's a train of thought that I'm thinking. I'll play the land first. I'll shock in whatever.
Hmm.
I'll Lotus Petal. I'm thinking about just. I think I have to what is Lotus Petal exile or
Sack it.
sacrifice? Oh, sacrifice. So even better. So I'll sack it, play Soul Ring immediately, and then I'll tap the land. And what does the green card do? I can't. Not that one. The other one.
Oh, this is a protection spell. 1 mana green
Yeah.
protects any permanent.
I mean, I have two colorless right now. I don't know what else I can really. I haven't. Yeah, I'll play my black market. I'm sorry. I didn't even. Lotus Petal didn't cost me anything.
Hmm.
Or, yeah, Tireless Provisioner as well.
So which one is better?
I'd say black market connections.
Definitely. This card is
Yeah.
insane. Get this on turn
Discard a
one,
card.
like game
Yeah.
feels unlosable.
Yeah.
What do you
100%.
do? Okay, so let's play it out. So definitely correct. This any hand that lets you play turn one black market connections,
Gas.
super snap keep. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
we have no land, right? So like this hand needs some help, right?
Yeah,
Still.
it does.
But this is a beautiful start. Now if someone blows this up, you're in a lot of trouble,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
So
pickle.
if we had another land, like if this Bolts the Citadel was a land, I might say it's worth waiting till turn two because we could hold up this protection. But
Hmm.
I don't think I would. I think I would be greedy and just rent it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so we're
especially, I
going
think at this
in.
bracket, you
Yeah,
just have to go, you know?
I think so. People
That's
are
what
gonna. There are gonna be other things that people need to remove. They don't necessarily want to waste a removal on this, even though
yeah.
I don't know. I would. I might. It's pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty game winning if it just gets to sit there.
I mean,
Uh,
in this one, I think the treasure token, it's kind of short, but I'm just going to draw the card. I'm going to pay the two. It
yeah.
doesn't enter with summoning sickness, right? I can just immediately just draw a card and no
Nothing has
pre
summoning
combat.
sickness except for creatures.
Yeah, so I can immediately just draw the card and lose it to life, right?
You so okay, so we went to our next turn, right? We untapped, we had our upkeep, and we draw. And
Hmm.
now we're in our pre-combat main phase. It's the main phase before our combat. So now
Got
this
it.
thing triggers. We get to what happens?
Either create a treasure token, you lose one life. Sure. Draw a card, lose two life, or create the shapeshifter with changeling. I don't think that the
Hold on.
shapeshifter in this deck.
Hold on. I want
Yeah,
you to start over. You're going too fast. Read that
I
again.
got my land. Yeah, beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose one or more. Wow,
There
yeah,
you go.
that
Yeah.
last part. Yeah,
Don't miss that part.
yeah. I thought it was the one. Okay, no, absolutely, the first two options. Who
Yeah,
cares? Three
take your
life.
time, don't rush. One word makes a huge difference, obviously. So,
Yeah.
and notably, you can't not choose one also. This can matter if you're at one life. Don't
Hmm.
play this card or be prepared to die. Like, you know.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, okay, so knowing that we can choose one or more, what are we choosing?
Create the treasure token. I'll lose the one life, and then I'll draw the card, and I'll lose two life as well.
Hmm. Okay,
hundred
so
percent.
just the first two, not the third?
Yeah, because there's no. I mean,
Wrong.
yeah, no.
So
You could.
remember our discussion about so I want you to think back to our discussion about Sylvan Library, number one, and then also our discussion we just had about why people play Rogue Rack.
Okay.
So what did I say about why people play Rogue Rack?
I mean, it's a cheap card, and you need a commander in play to trigger things like Mox Amber and stuff.
Right.
You need
And
a
the
mono-
shapeshifter, does that help with Mox Amber? Do you remember what Mox Amber, like the stipulation is?
I need a legendary creature, right?
Right. So this doesn't help with that. But we are
Correct.
playing Diabolic Intent, which requires you to sack a creature to get a demonic tutor, basically.
Hmm.
So if we were to draw, if we were to decline to choose the shapeshifter and then draw diabolic intent here, we would be very
Instead,
unhappy, right?
correct.
Don't,
Absolutely.
you know, I want you to have a very good, very, very good reason not to people call it full send. So if you ever watch the Command Zone,
Hmm.
the you know they they sort of invented that terminology as far as I know of like full send. So when you cast this card, you'll hear people in games say it. They'll say, "Oh, full send, always full send," and it means choose all three because
Hmm.
the value you gain, even if it's not always readily apparent, is in general going to prove itself game after game.
Hmm.
Even if you didn't draw any of those pieces that combo with your 3/2 shapeshifter, a three, especially the first one, a single like creature, when we don't have any other creatures, we have the tireless provisioner that we never want to block with, right? This is
Yep.
not a guy that is we're willing to have like die for us, right?
Yep.
And if we've got a random 7/7 swinging at us, you're going to be pretty happy you paid 3 life for a 3/2 when you can absorb 7 now.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's not always going to be, you're not always going to full send. I don't want you to take that away from this conversation. But I think on the first go, especially when you got this out turn 1, you want to full send the first time at minimum. And then I'd say like after you have one shapeshifter, maybe after you have two, then you stop making the shapeshifters because that's a little costly. Make sense?
Got it.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're
And
going to
here's
full
the thing with
send.
black.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
with black market connections, you have to choose one of the options every single turn, correct?
Correct.
It's not a May ability.
That is correct. Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. So like if you're at 1 life when you're heading into your pre-combat main phase, you're going to die. So you
Yep.
need to try to gain life in response to that, which you probably
Yep.
can since this is a food deck, You don't want to be sacking
Yep.
your foods to gain life typically, but it's nice to have that option occasionally. It's going to come up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so we made the shapeshifter, we made the treasure. We're going to draw the card. I'm not going to worry about tracking our life when we do the practice
Yep.
because it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now here's what we have as options for the turn. Talk me through what you're doing here.
So we have a land, we have a soul ring, we have 3 mana. We have more mana on board. So before, I think the first thing I need to do is tap all sufficient mana to bring out the provisioner. So then I can play my Bayou for turn and get a landfall trigger out of it.
Okay. Have
Or
you already shortcutted to understanding that you can't play Bolus's at all? Because I would want you to make sure that you rule out the possibility of this being castable. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I want to make sure that you fully
and
considered that.
that's a great thing. Why is it and I don't know why. Why wouldn't I want to put bolas immediately instead of landfall provisioner?
Why would you want to play this first?
Why wouldn't I?
Oh, you
Like
would.
why
That's what I'm saying. Like
oh
you
okay.
you said play the provisioner like definitely, and I was like, well, what if we can play Bolus's Citadel? I don't think we
Understood.
can, but I wanted to make sure that you calculated that. Did
We don't have
you?
enough black mana.
We don't have it. Well, I mean, we do though, right? We have this land
Yeah,
that makes black,
Bayou.
this land that makes black, and a treasure.
But we don't have the last mana
We don't
for
have enough. All I'm saying is I want to make sure that you actively understood that. If you did, then great. We can move past this.
got it. I thought the way of questioning was that bolas for some reason wouldn't be able to take effect immediately, and that's why.
No,
But
no,
I get what
no.
you're meaning now.
I think like
Okay.
if we had 6 mana instead of 5, the play is Bolas' Citadel here.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, good. That's it. That's all I was saying. Since that is not actually an option, let's do what you suggested. Now, are we playing? Tell me exactly what you do here.
I'm thinking I'm gonna tap for the soul ring, sack the artifact, sack the treasure, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
and then play tireless provisioner and
Okay.
bring out Bayou as land for turn.
Okay, so just want to remind us that this is not really a fetch land, right? We used it
Correct.
last turn.
Hmm.
So why are we sacking the treasure instead
I
of
don't
tapping
know.
this land?
I don't know if we have a land that would have let us tap for because we just got Bayou
What
in
did we
hand. I
play
don't know.
last turn? Well, I mean, good point.
I don't know if we have
I
another
think
land
for the
source.
purposes of this mulligan practice, and this is not a good strategy. I think like when you have more time and you can spend a little more time like doing this slowly and carefully, actually sack the land and go do it. Like look through your
Hmm.
library, get the real land and do it. I want to shortcut
Absolutely.
that because we don't have a ton of time, but I want you to do it like in full normally. Now, while we're shortcutting, I want you to assume that all of our lands make every color. Okay?
Got it. Yep.
So I don't want to even like have that be a concern. Even though
Got it.
that's not real, I think
Mhm.
it's a compromise we're going to make for the purposes of this testing.
Correct. And
Okay,
if
so
that's the case, then
yeah, let's
I'm
back
tapping
up.
the land. Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, good. Always save your
And
treasure if you can. Not always, but like
exactly.
mostly. All right, so we're
Yeah,
playing
because
Tireless.
if an opponent targets me and makes me sack something, I'm just immediately gonna sack the treasure,
Yes.
or something like that, or just
Well,
keep on
it
stacking them up.
represents like bonus mana that we can get later. So like it always
Yep.
makes sense to use it last.
Yep.
All right, so Provisioner's out. Now what?
Play Bayou, get
Mm-hmm.
my trigger.
Yep. Are
I
we
think
making a food or a
provision.
treasure?
I'm honestly, I would make a treasure right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't even.
Not a food. Yeah,
That
because
that
there's
question
nothing.
was a joke.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me tell you the correct answer. The correct answer is that thing can make food.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. What now?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, and here's the thing: I don't know what that cat does, so I would have to read it. Enters each opponent loses one life. You gain one life. Yeah, just go ahead and I'll tap. I'll
No.
tap Bayou.
No. 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 So
Sacrifice.
this you could play this. Like it's not that bad to play this because like you have a way to recur it if you need. Like if it
Got it.
dies. But do we need to play this now? This is a combo piece. Any random dork that's in your deck like this, assume it is a combo piece. I haven't there's no wasted space in this deck, period, right?
Hmm.
If there's a card, you know, if you thought like, oh, maybe Matt just included this 1/1 cat because like I could sack a food to return it and then like gain a little bit of life. No. Like if you see a creature like this, that's just like a random dork that doesn't seem that relevant,
It must be needed for
assume that it's
something.
part of an infinite, right? And
Yeah.
I would encourage you, especially if you're playing on Spelltable, to like come here and if you don't know, just look it up. Like you can look up
Yep.
this individual card and say, why is this here? Go to
Yep.
combos, and boom, we know that this is a combo. We know that this is a combo, and we could see what they do. I'm not familiar with all these. I don't expect you to be, but you are going to have to learn them eventually. And I would say, in general, don't run out your combo pieces just into the wild for no reason. This is maybe a slight exception, especially if like we didn't have the shape. Let's say we didn't have any other creatures and the board's getting pretty hostile. Like there's a lot of like attack power. Then it might be
Hmm.
worth just tossing this out there as a 1/1 chump blocker that could potentially save you a lot of life. And when you need to use it for an infinite, you have a way to get back, right?
Got it. Yep.
Okay, so let's reverse. So our options right now are um, we can't attack with the shapeshifter because it just came in.
Hmm.
We can't attack with provisioner. It just came in. As we discussed, we don't want to play the cat. Another reason not to play the cat here, by the way, is that having this land up has value, right? Because we have a
Hmm.
1 mana instant, and being able to use our land to cast this if we need it versus using a treasure has value.
Hmm.
Because then the treasures can help us cast Bolus the Citadel next turn. Make
Yep.
sense?
Absolutely.
So I think, we could play either of our commanders here, right? Is that
Yep. We can.
potentially the right play? Why or why not?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't at this point. I don't think. I don't think it's worth it right now using my 2 treasure tokens and my land just to bring out Sam or Frodo when
Definitely. Yeah.
Frodo's not going to do anything for me. I can't
Yeah.
swing with him. I can't get anything. And Sam, he's going to make my foods cost 1 less, but that's not really. We haven't even set up a board for him to do anything yet.
Well, I think so. I think getting each of these out when you can is normally I would say a good thing. Like I would encourage you to play these, even though I have said a couple times now like that they're relatively extraneous. I
Hmm.
think they represent an engine that makes you tokens. Tokens have value, and
Yep.
they represent an engine that draws you cards. And also getting the ring temps abilities turns on a looter effect for you. Eventually, it can ping everyone. All of these things have value, right? But when it's this versus casting a Bolas the Citadel next turn, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
But I don't want
Ab-
you to think that there's no value in playing these guys because they're both very good. So I'd say in other situations, you should definitely consider getting them online when you can.
mhm.
Okay. But now that we've said all that, let's just pass the turn, see what we get. All right.
That's
What do
straight fire. Is it not? Let me
it could
see.
be. So what happens before we do anything? We've drawn for
We're gonna
turn. What now?
Now we're gonna get our black market connections triggers.
Okay.
Uh,
Are we full sending or are we doing something else? And we know we have the information of what we drew for turn because it triggers after our draw step.
Correct.
So
At
what
this,
options are you choosing and why?
I think I'm just full sending it. I think I'm still gonna make them the treasure token. I'm still gonna draw the card and lose 2 life, and I'll make the shapeshifter because it's I'm so high life right now.
Mhm.
I don't.
Why
I think
else
it's
is
just
having a shapeshifter good right now?
I don't know.
What did we just draw?
Pitless. Oh, I can just what you're saying? Smash my one of my shapeshifters and get another treasure token.
Well, we don't have a way to kill it. We don't have a sack outlet, right? But
Hmm.
when we have drawn Pitiless Plunderer, having creatures all of a sudden has a lot more value because as soon as we get a sack outlet, it means each of our creatures equals a treasure. So I'd
Yep.
say I think even if we hadn't drawn this, the answer is make another one here.
Hmm.
Just because of what you said, we got this online on turn one. So just getting some dudes out on board like so fast has a ton of value, I think. But the Pitiless Splendor really makes it like a slam dunk that we full send here again.
Yep. And here's my question to you. Before, let's say before now Pitless or whatever, Plunderer, or before this turn, right? Are you swinging or are you just leaving everyone up?
Well, this is the first turn where we have the option to swing. So let's talk about
Correct.
it based on, well, let's finish resolving the triggers and then we can talk about it. So we made the shapeshifter, the treasure, and we're drawing an extra card. Okay. So here's what we have. Tell me. So to answer your question, I wouldn't even be close to thinking about attacks yet. I think
Okay.
we want to. I want to say this because I think it's important. If you ever end up like building a bracket 3 deck or even playing like precons at bracket 2, it's a really important concept in Magic is to a good rule of thumb, I should say, is to you have two main phases, right? You should
Mhm.
typically go to combat, attack, and then do stuff in your second main phase. This is something that was really drilled into me when I was learning Magic because it means that you're representing that you have combat tricks, right? Because all of your
Mhm.
mana is up. It In other words, like if an opponent is attacking you and you're playing against a new player and they play all the stuff they want to play, it's my turn. I cast a grizzly bear and a Llanowar elf, and now I'm going to go and attack you. And you're like, okay, I feel a lot safer because you're tapped out, right? So I feel like I
Yep.
can block your 2/2 with my 3/3 and not worry that you're going to have some trick and blow me out. So I think a good rule of thumb is you go to combat and then you do stuff in your second main. Now, I want you to forget that rule of thumb because when we're playing highly bracket Magic, especially on a turn like this, and one of our options is playing Bolas the Citadel, we want to like see every option we have and do what we can do before we decide if we're attacking or not. So to
Got
answer
it.
your question, it really depends on the board state. If no one has any creatures, then sure, just like send your guys. But like what if we draw, you don't even know the full contents of the deck yet because we haven't had time to look at every single card. So I don't want you to make decisions without understanding what every card in the deck does and what the potential opportunity cost is of attacking with your creatures, because we have a card like Springleaf Drum, which requires us to have an untapped creature to make a mana. And if we were to draw something like that and you didn't know that, you'd be like, oh man, I wish I had waited. So
Yep.
it's hard to answer the question, but hopefully that all made sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So I think
So what are we
I
doing?
think yeah. Did we play Pitless Plunderer the turn before, or we're
You mean
assuming that we just
Provisioner?
no the pirate. We haven't played him
No,
yet,
we
correct?
have what we have on
We
board
haven't done anything.
is accurate here. So this is
Got it.
we've finished our black market connections and we're in our first main phase. So we haven't played a
Yeah,
land, we haven't done anything this turn except make this guy who has summoning sickness.
understood. I think yeah, Bola Citadel is the play. The
Okay.
way I'm thinking about using my mana is first tapping my lands
Mm-hmm.
for
One,
potentially
two.
for Bo Black for two
Yep.
black.
Yep.
I'll tap Soul Ring for 2, and I'm still
Mm-hmm.
missing. I have to sack 2 treasures, one for the
Correct.
remaining black, and
Yep.
then one for the remaining colorless.
Yep. So ding ding. That's 6.
Yep.
Drop
Yep.
the Citadel, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully it doesn't get countered.
Hopefully it doesn't get countered for sure. And if you're playing into a bunch of open blue mana, that might
Yeah.
inform your decision, and you might just run out your commanders here.
Yep. 100%.
So be thoughtful about it. It's hard to know when that's the right thing to do or not. I think if no one's really done anything like threatening yet, then I'd hold off on the Citadel probably, especially into a bunch of like open mana. But we do have a
And
protection spell for it if they try to remove it like now. So that's nice.
correct.
And we have mana
Correct.
for it. So that is really good. Okay, so I'm
Absolutely.
going to set it so we can see the top card of our library. Huh, bad first one, but at least it's not a land, right? The thing with
Yep.
boluses is you don't want to find land because you can only play one land a turn. So as soon as you hit a
Correct.
second land, you're sort of locked. So what now?
I mean, we have Bola's there.
Mhm.
I don't see any. I don't see any. We only have one open mana left.
What does boluses do? Do you know what it does? Don't read it.
I
Just tell me what it
it,
does.
I can look at the top card of my library at any time,
Mhm.
and if it's, I can pay. I can cast the card by paying the life value instead of the mana values for it.
Right.
It's my understanding.
So does our amount of mana we have available matter? Of
No.
course it matters, but not for the purposes of
E-
bolus.
ex-
The only thing that matters
Correct.
is our life total. Now, the unfortunate thing about this hand that we didn't consider when we kept it is that bolus citadel plus black market connections is not a great combo because we paid a lot of life, and maybe we should have been more thoughtful about making the shapeshifter for that reason. I actually made a mistake and didn't even consider that. But this puts a strain on our life total, and so does this.
Understood.
So you're
Yep.
going to learn this stuff as you go. Like it's just tough. But
Yep.
yeah, I think like when you have a boluses out, the answer is keep slamming spells off the top until you win. So that's what you should do. So I think, slam the silence, right? We pay one life.
Mhm.
Sure. Let's play Esper.
Yeah.
Sure.
Heck
Let's
yeah.
play Ranger Captain. Now, the nice thing about Captain is, well, not so nice, right? We play it. It gets us ETB, right? Actually, it is an option, right? So it says you may search your library for a creature. We don't have to. So if we didn't want to, we could, and because we like the Mox Amber and really want to play it for 0, we could choose to not do this. Is that worth it, you think?
Is it worth searching for a creature?
Is it worth declining? So this is an option, right? It says when Ranger Captain ETBs, you may search for a creature. It says you may. So we know the Mox Amber's on top right now. This triggers on the stack. We can't play this, right? You can't play an artifact when there's anything on the stack unless you have flash. If we had flash somehow, then we could play this Mox Amber right now in response to the Ranger Captain's ETB. This
Understood.
is very complicated, so don't worry if it's a lot right now. But we can't play this even though it's 0 mana while this ability is on the stack. So Ranger
Understood.
Captain enters. He has an ETB that says okay, when the ETB resolves, you may search for a creature with mana value 1 or less, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So if we say, yes, I want to do that, we're going to look through our deck, find the creature, put it into our hand, shuffle, then the Mox Amber's gone, right?
Correct. Yep.
So if you really want the Mox Amber here because you're like dying to get 1 mana because you're going to win because of it, you could say, no, I don't want to search. I want to keep that Mox Amber that I know I'm going to win the game with. But
In
typically,
this
don't
case,
do that.
in this case, if for example, if we had a different hand like Heliod, or
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we had Heliod in hand, then I think it's for sure worth to go search for the Walking Ballista.
Mm-hmm.
But not knowing enough, I don't know if we have combo pieces right now. Maybe if the cat had a combo piece of something, this is where I don't have the knowledge. If it had combo with 1 less or the equivalent of whatever Ranger's asking, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's worth, but maybe it's not worth in this case to
Okay,
go
so
and
you
use the
think you
ability.
wouldn't search?
Yeah, not knowing enough about the combos and stuff like that, I wouldn't search right now. And I would leave Mox Amber at the
So,
top.
I mean, like, it's an interesting discussion, and I don't know what the right answer is. My inclination is to search for the piece because we have Bullets to settle down right now.
Hmm.
We have the potential to just win if we don't have enough mana, but like, as long as we're not in imminent like danger of dying before we untap again, because I think it's not realistic to expect that you'll be able to untap with Bullets to Citadel. I think it will be destroyed before you get to use it again.
Hmm.
But I think finding 1 piece of a 2-card combo has too much value here to pass up.
Hmm.
Versus the opportunity cost is that we lose a Mox Amber. Now, it's possible that the Mox Amber will show up again as we like get to keep going, or we could find another 0 mana artifact. I think I disagree with you in that you should search, but regardless, like, I don't even know if that's right. So let's just go with what you said and keep it on top. We'll decline the search. Opponents are already silenced, so we don't need to bother sacking the Ranger Captain. But if we
Hmm.
hadn't hit silence, we could consider sacking this right now to turn off the opponent's abilities to respond as we continue our turn.
Yep.
But we don't need to worry about that because silence is already in effect. So we're going to cast the Amber, of course. We're going to play the land because this is our
Yep.
first land drop.
Yep.
And now we
We're
hit
stuck.
another land. Bummer. Except, are we stuck?
Can we just search for that land that we got on top of our card? Sack
Right?
this.
So hold on, let's
Pay
back
the,
up. We have a trigger when we play our land, right? What is
yep.
our trigger?
We're gonna get another treasure token.
Yep. Okay. Now, can we play the swamp?
If we pay the 1 life from the foothills or foot stuff that we just played, then yeah, no.
Well, no, we can't play the swamp, but we can sack the wooded foothills, right?
And
What is that
look
going
for
to
the
do?
swamp.
Well,
Allow us to
well,
look for a
this
land.
can't get a
No.
swamp, right? It can only get this will get us a land, but it's also going to shuffle, right? Remember what I talked
Correct.
about? So then
Absolutely,
we have a
yes.
different card on top now.
Yep.
This is why fetch lands, among other reasons, are very broken. Plus, we're going to make another treasure, right? Second landfall.
Mhm. Yep.
So we'll get whatever land. Now this is, a land. We're going to just shuffle. And now we've got a Marionette Apprentice on top.
Hmm.
Okay. So we'll play that. What are we doing with the Fabricate? This is a small but semi-important point. Is your inclination to put a +1 counter on this creature or make a 1/1 servo?
I
There's
would put
definitely a right answer here.
and I think the right answer, no, a noob answer for me and how I would do it before is I would put it on her to make her bigger. But knowing that we
Mhm.
have so many stack outlets, I have to fabricate the one and make a 1/1, like make a like a 1/1 dork,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
As a
Definitely
stack
make
engine.
the guy.
Yeah.
There's something called rectangle theory in Magic, which is like having more rectangles in play equals power. When I say
Yep.
rectangles, I'm talking about tokens, cards, anything.
Hmm.
The more clogged your board is with shit, the better you're
Yeah.
doing. So
Yep.
when in doubt, default to rectangle theory. Okay.
Yep.
Also, what does the Marionette Apprentice do when a creature dies? So making
Everyone.
another creature is good for that reason too. Not just because we might have a reason to sack it, but because we get a benefit from sacking it now too.
Correct.
Yep.
Or when we continue stacking our treasure tokens, right?
Yes, exactly. Now each treasure we sack triggers this.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we have Bolus Citadel that cares about non-land permanents.
Yep.
Yet another reason to make a token, rectangle theory, right? If everyone is at... How much damage can we do right now on this board?
At a minimum.
So we're stuck, right? Hold on. Let me stop you for a sec.
Correct.
We're going to stop after this. So I want to like really drive this home. We're in an ultra powerful position here. We have a silence in effect, right? Unfortunately, we got stopped up with the forest here. So I think we're stuck. I don't know if I see anything on board that like lets us shuffle or like get this out of here. Actually, does this draw? No, sack. This gives us a sack outlet, but it doesn't draw. This makes treasure. This, yeah. So nothing lets us draw out of this, as far as I can tell. Let's say we have one opponent left. Everyone else is dead. And let's not worry about attacks. Okay, forget combat. At what life total does our opponent have to be for us to win here? So pretend this is a puzzle and I tell you, hey, Julio, like tell me how to cause opponent to lose as much life as possible with the board state and the hand that you have right here. Go.
I mean, at a minimum, they're going to lose 10 life just from Bolus Citadel.
I don't care about the minimum.
Yeah.
I care about the maximum.
We also have the
want
marionette.
them to cry blood.
So it's going to, I think, if we're not talking about swinging and it's just...
No combat.
We're not, no combat. It's 20 life.
Okay, how?
10 from, I'm going to sack an order, right?
And tell me exactly what you're going to do. Hold on. Let me screenshot this in case we lose tokens or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Tell me exactly what to do. This is not a fetch land. It's a regular land that can make all three colors.
Understood. So the order I think matters a lot because Bolus Citadel, I have to tap it in order for the opponent to lose life. So I think the misplay would be, oh yeah, I'm gonna, Marionette Master or whatever. No, I'm gonna tap the Bolus Citadel, sacrificing 10 things. I'm gonna first sacrifice my two shapeshifters. I'll sacrifice.
Okay. I'm just gonna stop you right now because you're definitely on the wrong path. So I want you to back up a little bit and just look at everything that you have and reconsider for a moment. Tell me if you need me to zoom in on anything. And take your time. Like this is a very, very important turn because, a misplay here is the difference between losing and winning this game, right? Understood. It looks like to me like we probably win this turn, potentially, depending on what our opponent's life total is. So take your time and look at every single card and really tell me when you're ready.
I think the key pieces here, it's going to be Ranger Captain, the Apprentice, and Bolus Citadel.
Okay. Why?
I think the first most important sack, it's Ranger Captain for its second ability.
Nope.
What do you think?
So I'm sorry to cut you off. But you're good. You're not even close. And I don't want to tell you yet because I want to give you one more chance. But so before we sack anything, what options do we have here? We can't play a land off. We've already played a land, right?
Correct.
Okay. What else can we do right now? We're still in our main phase.
Why don't we play the Plunderer?
We're in our second main phase, right? Combat's over.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead. What did you just say?
Why don't we play the Plunderer?
Bingo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah. Why would we sack anything when we've got this badass in her hand that is gonna make everything pop
Yeah, free treasure
so
tokens.
hard, right? You know, what did you
Yeah,
say when we drew this card?
it's straight gas.
Yeah, and then you forgot about that, and you're like, "Oh, let's start sacking shit to Bolus-Citadel," and I'm like, "Whoa, hold on a
Yeah,
second. We're not sacking anything until this guy's at the party,
correct.
right?" So
Yep.
really, really important to like whatever like headspace you got into, like that excitement. It sucks because like you want to like do the exciting thing, and I get it, but like just slow yourself down. And I feel I suffer from the same thing you do, I think, in that a lot of times I feel like my brain goes too fast and I'm like shortcutting
Yep.
things that end up being very important.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn, like I know exactly what happened there, but I still did it. So whatever you have to do to set mental stops and checks in place to ensure that, like, you know, even if it means going through a checklist, that you like literally make up a checklist and say, okay, let me look at every single card in my hand, make sure I can't play it. Like, you know, dismiss things as options as quickly as you can, and then it will make it easier to understand like what lines are proper. So I think you're on the right
Absolutely.
track now. So let's go.
So we're gonna go ahead and tap. We we don't. Mox Amber's unfortunately not gonna do anything for us here because we don't have a legendary to sack it or anything. So it's
Correct. Yes.
yeah. So
So let's
that's a
dismiss it as
no-brainer.
an option. So let's move the
Exactly.
stuff out of the way that we don't care about, right? These things
Yep.
currently do nothing. This probably doesn't do anything right now. This doesn't do
Correct.
anything. So let's just look at the things that matter. Now, does Ranger Captain matter here?
I think he does matter
Why?
because of his second ability. Sacrificing him
But
is
what
gonna
did we cast
prevent.
earlier this turn?
We did cast the yeah. Correct. The
So does
silence.
this do anything that the
Not
silence
really.
doesn't already cover?
No. It's gonna.
Yeah, it's redundant.
It's
So
correct.
he's not helpful here, except that he can sacrifice himself, which may be relevant. So let's not ignore that. I'm going to leave him here only for that reason. Okay.
Got it. Mhm.
Because there will be times, and this is a perfect example, this hand, where you might want to sacrifice him for absolutely no value because he will make us a treasure when he dies, for example,
Mhm.
or ping everyone for one.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So how are we playing our pitiless plunderer?
So
Well,
we're gonna
there's
tap our
really only
land.
one choice, right? We have 4
Yeah.
mana and he costs 4. Easy.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So he's down. Now start back with what you were saying.
We have to. Bola Citadel is the first thing that has to get tapped in this part, I
Why?
believe.
We have one other. Okay. So how many? What can Bola Citadel sacrifice?
Non-land permanents.
Okay. How many non-land permanents do we have?
I get where you're. Yeah. We don't have. Well,
No, no, no. I'm not implying anything right now. Just literally, how many
yeah,
non-land permanents do we have? How many lands do we have?
we have 4 lands.
Nope.
No, 3 lands. I'm sorry, and Soul
Yeah,
Ring.
that's okay. Yeah, 3 lands, and Soul Ring is a non-land permanent, right? Okay, so how many
Mhm.
non-land permanents do we have?
9. We have 10, not counting Bola Citadel.
Why wouldn't you count Bolas Citadel?
I mean, 11.
Can Bolas
'Cause
Citadel sacrifice itself?
I that here's where the magic knowledge.
Just
If
give
it
me your
sacrifices,
just give me your intuition.
I don't think it could because if it sacrifices itself, how is the ability gonna go on?
Fair question. It can sacrifice itself, and it just works that way.
Okay,
Okay.
understood.
So it would
Yeah,
say if it couldn't sacrifice itself, what it would say is sacrifice 10 other non-land permanents. The keyword you want to look for is other. This is going to be relevant on a lot of creatures. See Pitiless Plunderer, for example.
understood.
He doesn't make a treasure when he dies, but oh yeah, this doesn't either. But like something like Blood Artist that we looked at earlier does trigger when it dies. And
Understood.
it's hard to tell you like the perfect answer for this, but like generally, so like Blood Artist triggers when a creature dies. You get to ping someone for 1, you gain 1. Okay. If someone casts a Wrath of God, which destroys all creatures, and there's 10 creatures on the board, including Blood Artist, how many Blood Artist triggers are you gonna get? What is your like instinct to the answer to this question?
How many creatures apart from Blood Artists are there?
There's 9 other creatures, and Blood Artist triggers when it dies too.
There's 10. There's
Yeah,
10.
10 total
things I'm gonna get.
creatures. And
Yeah.
so you think like even though the Blood Artist is dying from the Wrath, it's going to see all of the other. When I'm asking you this question, by the way, I don't mean to have any implication. I just want to be clear
No.
about what you're trying to say.
Mhm.
So do you think that the Wrath kills the Blood Artist and all of the other creatures at the same time? The Blood Artist will see all of those creatures die?
I don't know.
What do
I
you
could
think,
see
if you had to guess?
if everything is dying at the same time, I don't
Yeah.
think the Blood Artist is going to see the other things dying.
I think
If everything is
I think that's a fair assumption. I think that that is generally the like intuitive answer, but that is wrong. And I want you to understand that when a situation like that comes up, which is frequent, it always works it almost always works in a positive way for you, assuming you're the one
understood.
controlling that source. So for example, in the same scenario, there's 10 creatures out, including Pitiless Plunder is one of them. You have 10 creatures. Pitiless Plunder is one of them. You cast a Wrath of God. It kills all 10 of the creatures. How many treasures are you making?
And is Plunderer included in the 10 or is it 11?
You have 10 total. Plunderer is one of them.
I get 10 treasure tokens
Why?
because he intuitively
Does he
I'm
count
going to go
himself?
with he does not count himself. What?
Okay,
When
so
another
that's,
creature he controls.
yeah.
So
So you were
it's just
almost right. It's the same
9.
situation. And just remember that as a rule. Now, someone will probably come and comment or tell me like there's some exception, blah, blah, blah. Or like sometimes with like triggered abilities after death, it can get confusing. But I think if in general you remember that that's how it works, that will help you.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's back to the point of Bolas can sack itself and you'll still get the ability. Also, like if you tap and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents and put this ability on the stack for each opponent to lose 10 life, and then opponent is like, no, screw that, I'm going to destroy your Bolas Citadel in response, their removal spell will resolve first, destroying your Bolas Citadel. Does the ability then resolve or does it not? Do
Well,
you
how
know?
can he cast anything if we have silence already?
Forget the
Yeah,
silence. I'm just
silence.
like, this is a hypothetical. In a different
That's
reality.
in a different reality. I tap Bola Citadel and immediately someone else puts a counter spell or a destruction spell to destroy Bola Citadel. Does Bola still do the 10 damage
Yes,
to everyone? I don't
it
know.
does.
Okay,
So like once the ability is on the stack, it's resolving. Okay?
understood.
This is very important. This is very like core concept of Magic. And this is a mistake you'll see all the time from players. They'll be like, okay, I'm going to destroy that thing because now I'm seeing it happen, but it's too late,
Let me
you know?
let me ask you a question. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, Trumpeteer, Dinosaur, or whatever, right? It
Yeah.
has, or once it
When it enters
discovers, right?
Discover.
Correct. If I counter his entry, it goes on the stack, but
Yeah.
he's still going to go ahead and discover. The creature's not going
No.
to hit the battlefield, right? But he still
So
discovers.
it depends. Like, a counter spell, countering a spell is only a spell when it's on the stack. Once it, so what happens is I cast my trumpeting whatever.
Hmm.
Opponents all get the opportunity to respond while it's on the stack. If they all pass priority and say I don't have any response, then the creature enters, and then it has a trigger when it enters. It says when it enters, do this whatever. So they get
Okay,
all opportunity to respond again to that triggered ability.
understood.
If they say, okay, in response to that trigger, I want to destroy it, they can do that. They can say, I'm going to lightning bolt your guy and kill it. But the trigger is already on the stack and it will happen regardless of if he's there or not. Now, if they counter
Understood.
it, then he never enters. And if he never enters, he can't get his enters the battle when he enters trigger, because when does it happen? It happens when he enters. And if he's countered while he's on the stack, then he'll never enter.
The timeline is so important
It's
in this
hard,
card
yeah.
game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very hard. Suggest you look up some videos on just like ETB, like the stack ETBs and stuff, because that'll help you a lot. And just playing, you know, it just takes a lot of
Yep.
practice. Okay, so let's just get through this one last situation. So this can sack itself. So this is actually a beautiful like board state because it really works out perfectly because there's, I think, one clear answer. Well, this is actually a really hard one. So like, don't feel bad about making some errors here. This is definitely go back and watch this turn because it's
Mhm.
crazy. So what do we do here?
We're gonna
This
tap
is
Bola Citadel.
nope.
Really?
We have one other. We have something else we can do. It's this is a fine point, but it could result in it will result in us like dealing an extra like 4 or 5 points of damage here. So what option we can't attack? We have no land. We have no spells we can play right now, right? We have no treasures. Literally, our only option of actions to take right now are to tap the Bulls of Citadel and one
Mhm.
other thing. What is the other thing we can do?
I don't know.
You do know because we talked about it just a second ago. So, like, let's look at every single card. So, forget our hand. We can't play our hand, right?
Yep.
Hands
Yep.
out. Can this card do anything right now? No.
Nope.
Can this card do anything right now?
It could sacrifice itself,
Interesting.
but
So,
we get a
that
free treasure
therefore
token.
must be the only. I said there's only 2 things we could do, right? This must have
Yep.
been the one I was talking about. So, why would we do that before we sacked anything with Bolus' Citadel? So rather than answering that question, if we sack things to Bolus' Citadel, how many things do we have again? What was the count?
I think 10
It was
exactly. I'm
11.
counting Bola.
It was 11, and that's important.
Yeah, 11.
Okay. So that being the case, we have the option to keep one non-land permanent if we activate Bolus' Citadel, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So what I don't know what the right answer is. Like if the question becomes then which single non-land permanent do we keep? I'm not sure what the answer is, but
Mhm.
almost certainly it's either one of these two. Because pretend the goal you're going to die at the end of this turn. Let's say like if you don't win this turn you lose, okay? Let's say we're in that scenario. So forget about like potentially saving this for next turn, which is probably the best answer. Like, you know, in a real situation, if we're not winning this turn, then I think we sack everything but Citadel. Or we don't even do this right now. We can wait to do
Correct.
this and do this on opponents' turns or at their end step or something. But the premise I set up was how much damage could we do this turn if that's our only goal? Okay. So then we have
Mhm.
11 non-land permanents. We get the option to leave one. Or before we even make that decision, we can just sack this guy. Now, why would we do that if we know the silence is already in effect? What would be the purpose of just sacking this right now?
We get a free treasure token.
Exactly. So let's go through that option. We sack him. We create a treasure. Everyone takes one, right? Because we had a creature die.
Yep.
Now we have access to 1 mana. Have things changed? Now we can cast things, right?
Yep.
Okay.
We could.
Do you see
Yeah.
how like small decisions can really have a meaningful impact on what you do?
Yep.
If we had just sacked things to Bolus' Citadel right away, we would lose one of these two.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's fine because our like end goal is to do as much damage as possible this turn. That was what I laid out as the like goal of this turn. But I think the path to doing as much damage as possible this turn involves first going down this side route of like playing a bunch of random crap, including the Cauldron Familiar, which does damage when it enters. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, we don't have any food, right? Um,
None.
and we don't really have any way to make food. Like, even if we like could play land, we're not. But
Mm.
this, any 1 mana creature is basically free right now, right? Because if we
Yep.
play this and then we sack it, well, if we have a way to sack it, right? The Ranger Captain was a special case because it could sack itself. This guy can't sack itself. So we could spend a treasure on him, which pings everyone for 1 again, right?
Yep.
So let's say we've done 2 damage now, right? We play the Cauldron Familiar, it enters, it does another damage, right?
Yep.
Now we're out of options, right? Now we have to use Bolas the Citadel, but we did a 3 extra points of damage there. Do you see?
Absolutely.
It's like super minor, unless it's not.
Mhm.
People
That might make the difference.
1 life or 0 life, is that a big difference? That's
Yeah,
everything.
you winning the game.
Now, if
100%.
if they end at 10, then who cares? All of this was a waste of time. But like,
Yep.
I've won games at 1 a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So don't miss out on these little tiny things because they're all very important potentially. So now we sack, whatever, we make a ton of treasure. We have a bunch of other like lines here because we're going to get a lot of treasure. But let's just make it simple and say like, okay, we're going to sack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We only have 10 now. 1, 2, 6. Oh, and the Bolas the Citadel. So we still have
Correct.
11. So I think we definitely want to leave the Marionette Apprentice, right? Because what's going to happen when we sack all these permanents?
Everyone's going to start losing 1.
Everyone's going to lose 10 from Bolas's, first of all, right?
Yep.
But then they're also going to lose 1 for each artifact and creature that died, right? So let's leave the Marionette Apprentice. Let's sack all of these things. Are any of these things not an artifact or creature?
No, well, yeah, the black market, it's
Yep.
enchantment.
So this is the only one that's not going to like do anything, but these other 9 are going to all trigger the Marionette Apprentice. Okay? So that's 9 more damage we're dealing. So we're up to 52, and then 10 from the Bolas the Citadel. We started at 40. I don't know.
Yep.
So we're up to 62. And now all of these things are gone. And how many treasures are we going to make?
We're going to make, I think, what, 11, right? No, 10, not counting itself.
What is he, what is the
Another
Pitiless
creature,
Splendor
I'm
do?
sorry.
That's okay.
It's only a creature.
Yeah.
So we're going to get 1 from the cat. We're going to get 1 from the Tireless Provisioner, Espel Senator, and the 2 shapeshifters.
So 5, right?
Yep, 5.
Okay.
Well, 5, yeah.
So
5.
all those die. We make 5 treasures. Now, we could just sack all these.
Yep, for another 5 damage.
We have, yep, so that's another 5 damage. And then we've got 5 mana. Okay, so we could play this guy for 2. And can we have 3 mana left.
Yep.
Can we do anything else here? We can use this ability to pay 1. So let me open the mana. We have 3 mana. Okay. Is there anything else we could do here to do any more damage?
Does Dina do? Sacrifice another creature. Dina gets XX.
Her
Yeah,
ability
we'll
is
play...
useless, but basically 1 mana sack a creature.
Yeah.
It's not useless always. It's just in this scenario.
Okay.
So she can only sack the Marionette Apprentice right now, right?
Well, we have 3 mana. We can play Frodo or
Bingo.
Sam.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, we could. Can we play either one? No. We only have 3 mana, right?
Yep.
And we need 1 to have her sack
So
something.
it's definitely
so we
Frodo.
have to play Frodo, and then we sack him to Dina to do 1 last point. So we ended up doing 28 versus potentially the 10 we were like going to do if we hadn't played the Pitiless Plunderer. So you could see how different these scenarios end.
100%.
So very difficult deck to play. You've picked an extremely tough one. There's a ton of lines. We hardly got through anything here, and we're way over time. So
Yep.
apologies for that. I'm
No, but
bad at
I think
keeping
it's
to a
great.
timeline.
I'm not complaining about that.
No, I know. I need to be better or something. Yeah. Any questions before we wrap up? I hope this was helpful for you. I know, like,
No,
we didn't quite get to
extremely
cover as much
helpful.
as I wanted to, but
No,
yeah.
extremely helpful. I know that one of the things I'm going to have to do is just before even getting into any game, just sit down with the deck
Yep.
and just go through 100 different, mulligans and cards and see the whole strategy,
Definitely.
especially with this deck.
We didn't
There's a
even
bit
look
of
at
input.
every infinite. Like
Yeah,
there's probably a couple that I missed. Um, Definitely look through this page. And
100%.
if you can't find one or you're just not understanding how it works, just chat me and like we'll talk through it.
Yep.
But yeah, like after you get some reps in, I haven't like played this deck in reality, so it's possible that as practiced as I am at building decks like this, I still am always tinkering with my decks and I make tons of changes all the time. So
Hmm.
what I don't want you to assume that is like this is perfect and it can't be it like you mustn't change something here. You're going to be the one who like is playing the games and you'll start to get a feel for like, man, like I feel like this card just really isn't working, like, or it's
Yep.
not like performing that well. Like, is it crazy to consider cutting it? And I want you to be open to the answer to that question being yes, because I have not played this deck at all. This is the first run through I did with it with you right now. So
Picking your brain, one
yeah.
card that I do think, and again, I may be completely wrong, is I don't see, for example, in this card where we might have so many cards in hand, you don't think
Hmm.
like a reliquary tower might be worthwhile?
Um, no.
Okay.
So the reason I say that is, well, I have several reasons. How are we ending up with more cards in hand than seven in a game where we're not like we haven't just won? Like
Understood.
look at that. That was turn four or something, and we
Hmm.
either won or like badly crippled everyone.
Yep.
Um, and that's not, I don't think, an unusual draw that we just had.
Hmm.
So if you're in a situation where you have so many cards that you're having to discard to hand size, I would postulate that you're doing something wrong because
Understood.
why haven't you won? Um, the other thing is that the cost of playing a reliquary tower is not nothing. Even though it's a land and we want to be playing land anyway, this is a three-color deck that is pretty color intensive because look at all of our early plays. There's a few colorless symbols, right?
Hmm.
But you'll find that colorless lands are a pretty bad liability sometimes, especially when you've got like a triple black spell like this or Bolus the Citadel. So I
Understood.
think
Yep.
Reliquary Tower is one of the most overplayed cards in the game. There is a home for it, especially at like lower power decks that are like the games are going to go longer and like you're not just like straight winning when you have a lot of cards.
Hmm.
But in a deck like this, never.
Understood. Yep.
Yeah, the colorless, the fact that it makes only colorless is the biggest like deal breaker. There would be value occasionally. I'm not going to tell you you won't come into a scenario now and then where you wish you had it, but I would say the cost of it is going to like be so much worse. And if you want to test my theory, figure out what land you would cut for it,
Yep.
and like every time you draw that land, imagine it was a reliquary tower and see how much
Hmm.
your see how the situation might be different. And I could be wrong. And if you do this, let me know what you find because
Hmm.
I'm very curious. Like this is just my postulation, but like that doesn't mean I'm right.
No, but I think you're on the right track 100% with that. I think
Yeah.
it doesn't matter in this case. If you
Yeah.
have more than 8 cards in your hand, you're not doing something right?
Yeah,
I think.
Reliquary Tower is kind of a win more card. Like, I think,
Yeah.
plus the other thing is like discarding not always bad. We're playing three reanimate spells. Like
Yep.
sometimes Reliquary Tower is like actually bad, actively bad for you because you're like, wow, I want to discard to hand size because I can drop in a like Enduring Tenacity or one of my expensive creatures, Protean Hulk, right? There might be hands that you get occasionally that have a Reanimate and a Protean Hulk. And this is crazy. So like, don't do this willy-nilly, but you could not play a land on turn 1, go to 8, because you drew to 8, discard the Protean Hulk to hand size, reanimate it the next turn.
Yep.
That is something you could do. I'm not saying that you should do that, but if you also had a 1-mana way to sacrifice Protean Hulk, that could win you the game.
Yep. Immediately look for one of those combos.
Yes. So keep an open mind about what you can and do. And yeah, this is for someone who's been playing 3 months, this is like probably one of the hardest decks that you'll find. So definitely a lot of room to grow into, but I think you can do it because to me, you clearly like have the makings of a very strong player. So yeah, just give yourself some time and some practice and you'll get there.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for this help, by the way. It's insane.
My pleasure. I'm glad you liked it. By supporting me on Patreon, you help me toward my dream of quitting my day job and opening my own local game store. You can earn credits that you can use toward in-depth and detailed deck reviews, one-on-one coaching sessions, custom tokens, and more. Thanks for your consideration. I truly appreciate your support.